Hey everyone, I'm your host, Valerie David,
And I'm your host, Courtney Massey.
and this is the night session. And this is our summary of the French Open.
Oh, the relatable.
I don't even remember what match this is from. This was pretty early in the
Yeah,
tournament.
it was early. Well, I think he got out early, didn't he?
no,
Didn't he? He only played like one match, didn't he?
no, not for him. He did pretty well.
Really?
Yeah, he got.
Who am
Did he
I
get?
thinking of then?
Well, anything less than a win, people consider Sasha going out early. So I guess it doesn't really
Oh,
matter
and that's what
because
I heard everybody say that he went out early, but maybe they're just being dramatic.
yeah, it's because it's just like, ooh, he's supposed to have won everything by now. It's like, well, because you see everybody else doing that.
Yeah.
This is not exclusive to Sasha. But yeah, there were a lot of players like totally in the dirt in this tournament. That there was a lot of people with clay butts, and Sasha just wallowing in it and holding on to a small child, which is pretty much.
I didn't know when I first saw this, I didn't know how the jokes were gonna go. For like the internet of like Sasha just grabbing onto a small child without their permission, like clearly just grab them.
Yeah.
And can you imagine that BALLKID, like what they must be thinking?
Well, that's what I always find is really cute is that it's like a lot of times people have all these weird reactions on the internet to this stuff, and 98% of the time the ball kids are like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, sorry, Sasha. Just like, they
I
get
know, it looks like
hugs,
the
they
BALLKID's
get
trying to like comfort him, like, here, I got your racket. It's gonna be okay, buddy. We're gonna get through this.
I know. I think that's one of the sweetest things ever that happens in tennis is when someone has
Yeah.
a fit and throws their racket down and is lamenting, and this little kid comes with the racket, like here you go. It's gonna be okay. And then like a lot of times it diffuses them because they're like, oh, this little kids here.
What WTA player was it? Scavani? Who was the one who hugged the BALLKID? Like during a match, she needed comfort and just asked for a hug.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
Was that Francesca? I can't remember. It was years ago that this
Yeah,
happened. But
yeah.
yeah, she needed comfort, so she asked for a hug mid-match for like one of the like older BALLKIDs.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And I said most of the time they just go with it. It's just like
Yeah,
they've dealt with the crazy extensively, I guess. So now it's like nothing shocks them. But
and
this
like
one
the
I'm like,
cameras on them too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Everybody's watching me. But I'm sure I would think it would have freaked me out if Sasha grabbed me by the legs.
I might have geeked out a little bit, like, oh my gosh, and it's on camera. You all see it. You touched me, and there's proof.
You
I
touched
have the
me.
receipts.
Oh, and this is funny too, because when we were doing the run through, we were talking about how Sasha doesn't generally like to be touched. And
Oh yeah, that's weird for him. Yeah, he
yeah.
doesn't like to be touched.
So this was an interesting moment.
He was really suffering there.
Yeah. But this is we have like a lot to like cover and rant about, and this kind of sums it up because this French Open was kind of a mess, and like the draws fell apart, and there was all kinds of controversy and drama, and we
It
don't
was
know
a
what all.
messy bench.
It's a messy bench.
A messy bench.
So I know you're all shocked, but Rafa won his 700th Roland Garros.
What?
I mean, I don't know how it happened. Rafa was like those pageant women that like spend 6 months pretending to look surprised.
I'm sorry, I didn't expect that.
Me? I won this
Me?
trophy.
You like me?
But yeah, as I said, when I retweeted this with the Rafa was like spanking the trophy, and it's like, bad trophy. I saw you looking at Dominic. I saw you.
But that's the thing is like everybody was mad at Eurosport for tweeting out that gif of that altered Tom and Jerry gif of Rafa spanking Dominic, and then a few hours later, Rafa's spanking the trophy. And like, you all were mad. It was just foreshadowing, man. Like, that happened. Sort
Rafa
of.
had the time. He was watching Eurosport on the changeovers.
Like, hey, that's a good idea.
Oh, I just
What was that noise?
It's just one of those, like, I don't want to piss off Rafa fans, because I know if
No.
this was Roger winning his 800th Wimbledon, I would be all excited about it. So I know they're happy, but it's a very odd to me how, like, the tournaments and the journalists and stuff all seem to be very big on, this is awesome that these same people keep winning everything. And it's like, is it? You know, you go through this 2 weeks of agony every year, rooting for your faves, and then watching them fall one by one until it ends exactly the same as the previous 11.
I hated the Rafa Roger domination for years because I just thought, I mean, yes, I mean, obviously they're the top of their game, and you know, you respect them and you enjoy them to an extent, but like you said, it just is the same result over and over and over again. And I like variety. You know, I like not knowing who's going to win and it being a little bit more open.
Right.
And so, yeah, it does get a little bit like, okay, just, you know, because at the start of the tournament, you're like, all right, well, what's the point? Just give it to them.
Yeah. And then people get mad at you for saying that, and then it happened. And it's just like, and then like the alternate result is, well, maybe Nole would have gotten it, or Roger. It's just kind of like, you know, I mean, there's not even like, well, there was close to a chance of someone else getting it. It's like, not really. You know? And it's still the same three guys. It's like, that's the thing that's happened over like the last 12 years or 15 years or whatever the hell it is. It's like it just changes which one of the two of the three are the dominant rivalry at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ludicrous. I'm ready for a change, but it's like it a lot of times ends up where it's just like one guy has to go through like 7 of the best players. And this was Goffin.
Yeah, that was earlier today, right before we recorded. He posted on his Insta stories, which was really funny when the players kind of have a laugh.
Yeah.
At their own expense.
At their own expense, yeah, because it's like it's like funny, but it's also really sad because it's like, really? You know, it just starts to seem ridiculous already. It's kind of like no one can do it. Like, is Rafa going to be 45 and still like straight setting people? It seems crazy. And I mean, honestly, Roger's cruising towards that. He's fucking 37. But this was interesting. I like wrote all this stuff down about Rafa's draw for this tournament. And I'm going to, before people get mad, I'm going to say right up front that Nole and Roger really had fairly easy draws too. It was like the way the draw is kind of designed that way. Like, we want the top guys to get through, but sometimes it's excessive. The way it falls out, like all of the guys who maybe could do something all end up in the same, like, you know, eighth of the the draw.
Yeah.
It's like, so they all cancel each other out before they even get to the quarters. It's like, what the fuck? But Rafa had, I don't even know how to say his name because I don't see him that often. It's Hanfman, and then Maiden, and then Goffin, who was 27 seed. And he's kind of just sort of coming back from, he's had multiple injuries and bad luck, and he was kind of finally starting to hit his stride. And he actually, as indicated, got a set off of Rafa. And you're like, oh, you know, maybe people are making some inroads. Then his next round is Lundero. Like, what? Which, if it hadn't have been Lundero, it could have been Basilashvili. That was the other seeded player, which is kind of like, he's been playing really well, and he also is like hits really hard. So you could think that, like, well, maybe that might have tired Rafa out slightly, you know, because that's always the thing where you're like, you need multiple people to beat up on Rafa, and then you might have a chance to win. And so, and then after Lundero, he got Nishikori, who had just played a monster 5-setter with Benoit Paire. And Benoit Paire had like a massive tournament for him. He beat Kopil, who was another big hard-hitting guy. He played 5 sets with Herbert. Then he beat Pablo Carreño Busta, who's like a clay, god, in straight sets. Then he plays Nishikori for this 5 sets, and he was up a break and should have won the match. But it's the usual Nishikori thing where Nishikori probably should have won it 3 different times earlier than that, but he always drags it out to 5 sets and then gives the next match as a walkover. So again, it's like Benoit isn't somebody you necessarily would think, oh yeah, he can take out Rafa, but he was playing amazing and maybe would have made it more interesting than Nishikori, who was just basically injured from like the first set of it, and it was like a horrible scoreline.
Yeah.
Then he got, after Nishikori, he got Federer, which the pundits were totally looking forward to. The big Fadal number 172.
It was hyped to the heavens.
Yeah, and it was like, but it's like the hype didn't really take off this time because no one was buying it. They're like, because Rogers won their last 5 meetings. It's like, yeah, but none of them have been on clay. None of them have been at the French Open. And there's the same thing. Roger took out Stan, who has been looking awesome this clay season and seems to be like inching, ever closer. And this tournament was kind of like, looked like, oh shit, he might do something. And he runs into Roger in the draw, and Roger just knows him too fucking well. Yeah. It's like so frustrating. It's like Stan would have beaten anybody else, but Roger just knows exactly where Stan's going to go next. It's like he just can read him so easily. And Stan does well. Like, he can read Roger's serve better than a lot of people, but he can't do enough against Roger's game. And so it's kind of like he's doomed. It's like if the draw had shaken out a different way, it's like Stan probably would have gotten him further, but he had to run into Fed, and then Fed did nothing against Rafa. It was like the usual heartbreak for Fed fans. And then Rafa gets Dominic, and Rafa played Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, and Dominic played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. That's oh gosh. It's so hard to talk about this tournament because you really do just want to make noises.
Yeah.
And that's not good for podcasting because you want to articulate and make jokes and be a part of the conversation. But all you want to do is just go, oh.
And then we were doing this to continue our theme of irritation.
Yeah. Rafa fans are going to hate us. I'm so sorry in advance because you were about to hate what we're going to say. But he just won his Grand Slam. You should be happy and not care what we have to say at this moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. You should just be like haters.
Yeah. But we did get a very good laugh at this. We talked multiple times about this, where in a press conference, everybody tweeted this section of his press conference with, they have to show it at every tennis school, and like Brad Gilbert, everybody under the sun was retweeting this and saying how incredible it was. So I was like, oh, like I really need to watch this. And someone needed to explain to me why the reaction for it was the way it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Did you have more? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say he said nothing. He said nothing.
Yeah, it was like one of those circular answers, like, how do you keep a strong mentality? Well, I go out and I keep a strong mentality.
Exactly. All he did was tell people to focus. How do you focus? You focus. That's it. That's anybody could tell you that. Anybody can tell you need to focus and work on your mental strength. But he gave no insight on how he specifically does that, or there was just nothing to it. It was just nothing. And I watched it and I'm desperately waiting for the inspiration. And I'm like, did I not see the rest of the interview? Like, what? Where is the? It literally just was, how do you focus? You focus.
Yeah.
End of inspiration.
Yeah, and the other thing that really got me was that he said that, you can't get negative
Yeah.
about if things aren't going well or because of injury problems or you don't complain, you just go on court and play. Going, you don't do that.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw this, I texted it to you and I said, so what? He saves all the complaining for the award presentation?
Right,
Like
his
the thank
trophy
you
ceremony.
speeches? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he complains all the time. And Uncle Tony says he's not a tennis player. He's an injured man who plays tennis.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they have that like, and I mean, he's gone through a lot. He's gone through a lot of injuries that would have taken him out years ago. Um, so I'm not discrediting that, but I do think it just is glossed over a little bit
Yeah.
that he, kind of plays the sad story a lot
Yes.
and then acts like he doesn't.
Yeah. And
And go
go
ahead.
uh yeah, no, it's just like it's kind of the whole package, and it's like this is what the things that Rafa fans like about him are the things that drive me crazy. And it's like that supreme humility, that in the face of what he's doing is offensive.
Yeah.
And I felt I was mad because I couldn't find a picture or gif of Dominic after he lost this, and then during like the part of the speeches and stuff where they give the oh, I'm sure you're gonna win another one of these and you played great or whatever, and Dominic had this look on his face like yeah blah blah whatever. And it was like, yeah, because it's just, I always talk about that thing like when Rafa claps when his opponent leaves the court, and it's like this, people go, oh, it's so gracious, and it's like the way he does it to me is complete. It's like the Nancy Pelosi clap. It's like, good job,
Good job, you did so well. So proud of you. But I
Yeah,
think he does that like too humble thing to a fault.
yeah,
Because at some point, all of your success, it just comes off phony. It comes off just, you kind of have to own up your success a little bit.
yeah.
You don't have to be a jerk about it. But I
No,
feel like he does play the like he acts like he's a struggling newbie on the tour. And it's like, what? But I think that's his upbringing. I think, Uncle Tony, I think, raised him to make him believe he shit.
yeah. There's that, and then also like that's the face that you're supposed to show to everybody. Like it's totally wrong to say that you're great or whatever. It's like it's like you can tell he doesn't believe it anymore. Like honestly, when he was younger, I think some of that was more genuine. Like, oh, I'm not that good, or Federer's better, or what. Like I think that because he'd been raised that way, I think that was kind of his default. But now, after you've won the French Open like 12 times, don't be like, oh, this is such a surprise. I've been so gravely injured, that's why I completely just mop everybody up off the court. It's like as I can barely move.
Now, I will give Rafa huge credit for this. He actually did say something that I thought was more inspirational than this. Was after when he was okay, the bar is not high. Him saying something about how you have mental strength when you have mental strength. Like that's not inspirational at all.
Yeah.
But he did say in his interview with John McEnroe today that he wants young kids to not focus so much about being professional. There's always time to be professional, and he said that it's so important to enjoy what you're doing and loving tennis and having fun.
Oh.
And his whole interview was actually very nice. And I go, okay, that I will allow you
Right.
to post everywhere and show it in tennis schools, because I think he gave you more. He gave a little bit more personally and professionally, and I thought it was something that you could admire. But this, everybody went crazy for this, and I go, he said absolutely nothing in this. And people are just hanging on it like it's the gospel. And I'm like, he said literally nothing. Like, anybody could have said what he said.
And then I wanted to say this is Dominic's reaction to those pearls of wisdom. Like, what?
Okay.
This is an awesome Dominic photo that people have used for a lot of things, and he did it for some kind of ad for one of his sponsors, and it just looks like one of those cheesy stock photos.
It doesn't even look real.
No, it's like those memes, with the guy looking back at the other girl.
Yes, exactly.
But this is so they used this for when Dominic was playing the previous match against Djokovic, when he had some chances to close things down earlier, and they just didn't work out.
Dominic, that match for him was like heartbreak after heart. You had the rain. Like, anytime he was up and had momentum, something went wrong.
I know, it was like a curse. And we're gonna get to some stuff about Dominic later, but this whole tournament has just been like a shit on Dominic tournament.
It really, like, he had that little cloud following him
Yeah.
above his head, and that would just zap him with lightning every now and then.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like they were everything got fucked up because it got washed out on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was supposed to be the women's quarterfinals and the men's quarterfinals. And so then on Thursday, which was supposed to be the women's semifinals, that was when all that stuff was. And so then Friday was just completely fucked up. And Dominic just kept getting pushed back. And then because of the rain delays and stuff, they had to keep going off court. And Nole was so pissed by that the wind was, 400 miles an hour and stuff.
Oh my God, the dust storms.
Yeah, I should have put that in with Roger where you couldn't even see him.
I know, and I showed that to my mom. She's like, how did they even see the ball? Like, it's just, the dust was so insane. And it is crazy. Like, I tweeted that it looked like they were playing it inside a Western.
Yeah.
Like, you just expected a tumbleweed to come rolling on by at some point, and,
Yeah.
and like the music.
Exactly.
And it was insane.
Yeah, and it was the kind of thing where it's like you step over to the left and get knocked over by a gust of wind. I mean, it was like, so the ball was just, Roger would hit one of his, sublime drop shots and the thing would just fly away like into the crowd. I mean, it's just like, they looked like they didn't know how to play tennis. And so it got later, and honestly, to me, it sort of calmed down a little bit, but reportedly some of the gusts were bigger, even though it was like the rest of the time was not as bad. But Nole hates wind. This is like a no factor. So he was like,
it wasn't even just wind, like wind combined with sand. Like,
yes.
I'm sorry, how they kept their eyes open.
Yes.
Like, my eyes hurt watching them. Because have you ever got just like a little piece of something in your eye? Can you imagine all of that sand coming at your eye every 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, that is hard conditions to play in. And, I don't mind him getting mad about that.
No.
But I don't understand. Like, gosh. The things they put up with.
But it was problems from the very beginning that the tournament fucked up, because they did this unbelievable thing where it actually seems weird just to have the semi matches on one day. Like, that's all there is. It's just these two matches. Obviously there's doubles and other things going on, but they had just had two men's semifinal matches. They now sell separate tickets for those two matches. So you have to buy tickets for one semifinal.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so
does anyone else do that, by the way? Do you know?
You know what? Not offhand, but I wouldn't be surprised, because that's what everything's been lately about, like milking as much money as possible. But
yeah,
I would think like on most of the tour, it's generally,
by
when you
day.
get those bigger things, it's by day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like Cincy, like the men's and women's final, it's just one ticket. It's not two separate tickets for one match each. That seems crazy. So then what happened was, then when they had the women's and the men's semifinal, they they were like, well, the men have to be on Chatrier because we sold all those tickets already. And so then they put the women, one on Longland and one on Mathieu. And it was like, so you're playing your semifinal and you're out in the sticks. So it was like, so that was a problem right there. So it was like in previous years, they had put the women's semifinals first on the 2 courts and then the men's second on the 2 courts. And it was the kind of thing where like a lot of people were mad that their match got stopped and then Roger had lost in these horrible conditions. Like he didn't know he could just bail out on this match because of bad conditions. And it was like, well, if they had played at the same time, they might have, if Djokovic had said, fuck it, I'm not playing anymore, then they might have stopped the Roger Rafa match too. Maybe. They don't always do that, but it's the kind of thing where it might have worked out more evenly. But the way it was Rafa was completely done, and Dominic and Nole were on yet another break. And the next thing you know, the TV's telling us, there's like 3 more hours of daylight, but yeah, they called the matches for the day.
Yeah, and the weather cleared up.
Yeah, it was like completely sunny. And that's what happened was like they, I was like, oh, this must be a long one because they're covering the courts and all that kind of stuff. And then like a short time went by and you could see the stands were full and there was a sunny sky. and then you see on Twitter and they're like, Djokovic has left the stadium. Like, what? He's left the grounds rather.
Yeah, the conspiracy theories went crazy.
Yes. And
there was a lot of conspiracy theories this time. But Novak, them saying that Novak controlled that decision.
Yeah,
and just left.
What was the problem was like the main problem was that, and I can't remember which journalist said it, but they said the problem is the French Open was like lackadaisical about getting this information out. Like they kind of like hold on to the information, not realizing that there's all these people who are getting little bits and pieces of it and then creating a big firestorm out of it. When if they had just immediately announced we've canceled matches and we've let the players go and because we thought there was going to be a storm coming and all that kind of stuff. They didn't do any of that. And so everyone was just reporting that Djokovic left and that Dominic's team was going, you can't do this to us. There was like all kinds of like stories and stuff about that Dominic was kind of left in the lurch and that Djokovic just left. And so then people were like, he should have been defaulted. And
well, didn't they ask Novak about it in press? And they said, what did they tell you when they canceled the match? And he goes, I don't know. Ask them. And I'm like, well, that's suspicious.
Well, exactly.
Like, Novak might have just been defensive because he probably heard that everybody was blaming him.
Yeah.
So he probably did like, kind of a curious deflecting, like, you asked them, not me. But so he might be perfectly innocent, but yeah, it just seemed it helped fuel the fire to people who were already running with this conspiracy.
Yeah, and
that he doesn't remember, like everybody, like it turned into Congress, like where they show up in congressional hearings. I don't recall. Like it was 5 hours ago. What the hell? Like,
Well, yeah, and then there was my favorite was Pat Cash told a story about that he ran into Dominic at the urinals.
Oh my gosh, I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear this one?
No.
He was standing at the urinal next to Dominic Thiem, like you do, and he said, so what happened last night? Like, why did they call off the matches? And Dominic went, I don't know.
So he said the same thing too, but in his defense, he was peeing.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like, I don't know, dude, get away from me.
Yeah, like, isn't there like protocol where you're not really supposed to talk to another dude in the urinal? Isn't that like a thing between dudes? I don't know. I'm not a man. Maybe men listening to us can tell us what the urinal protocol is. But that's funny. I didn't hear about that. Couldn't he have waited until they were done?
Maybe he didn't want to catch his moment because, like Dom couldn't leave answering the question, I guess.
That's some real hard-hitting journalism.
It was midstream, But then they come out, and Guy Forget comes out with the statement that, oh no, we went into the locker room and we gave them the option and they both agreed. And I'm going, yeah, I almost believe that. It's like, and that's what it sounded. It just sounded like cover your ass kind of a statement when it's like, it could be perfectly true. But if they had come out and said that right off the bat,
Exactly. And I've talked about this before when I used to follow like true crime cases where like different police organizations would give completely different stories. And I would sit there going, this is why conspiracy theories exist. Right. If everybody got together and got their story straight and kind of presented things in a normal way, people wouldn't question it. But because it's so haphazard, people are like, wait a minute, that's suspicious.
Right. And then you're left with, who do you trust? Like, do you like the journalist? Do you think he's telling the truth? And then it just becomes an all-out war.
Yeah. And that was the entire 2 weeks. Just, who do you trust? Who do you believe? We don't know.
When we looked as confused as Dominic does here. Oh my goodness. Poor Dominic.
That's probably what he's thinking. Can I trust her?
Can I trust? Is she telling me the truth? This was another insane thing that started a firestorm online, because this is not unusual for tennis players, but it is unusual for Roger. And he was getting spanked by Rafa in the continuing theme. And he hits this ball out into the crowd. And, but if you watch where he watches and some other people, he hits it up and out of the stadium, which was what was reported by the commentators at the time. And I didn't really think anything of it. But when this started circulating and this dude in the front row completely loses his shit.
I showed this to my mom and she couldn't stop laughing. Like, it's the funniest thing. Like, I mean, you don't want anybody to be scared, but come on, that was fucking funny.
I mean, it's hilarious. And what really I love is that guy completely flinches, knocks his own hat off. The guy on the other side freaks out and is staring up at the sky, and the woman in between them does not even move.
No, she doesn't flinch at all. She doesn't even look real.
And somebody was like, she's sleeping behind those sunglasses.
She just not. Maybe she didn't even look. Maybe she was looking somewhere else. But the guys are just like, oh my god, we're gonna get it. We're gonna. How chivalrous! Like, they didn't even protect her.
No, just save yourself.
But the most ridiculous thing is, a lot of people joked that Roger knocked this guy's hat off, but some people actually believed it.
Yes.
That the ball actually knocked this guy's hat off. And to be clear, it didn't. He knocked his own hat off because he's an ass. Like, I'm sure he's fine, but he had a silly reaction.
Yes. And it was just that it was perfectly timed too, because I got to be honest with you, when Andy Roddick used to hit the balls out into the stadium 120 miles an hour, it used to freak the shit out of me too. It's like, it is like a natural reaction. Like, is that going to take out a light? Is that going to hit me? Is that,
I used to make this joke all the time that if I die young, I want to go out by a Roddick serve or ball. I used to joke about that all the time.
So it's like, it is terrifying. So I can kind of understand, because Roger kind of sliced it, and so the way he cranked on it seemed like he was going to line drive it right at them.
Yeah.
And then
it does look like it. And you have to be careful, because look at what happened with Dennis.
Yes. And that's what we were saying. It's like, this guy was afraid he was going to be Shapovalov.
He did. That must have been in his mind, dude. Like, his whole life flashed before him. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful when you're throwing balls and rackets and anything like that. You have to be careful, because it can hit somebody and accidents happen, and it can be very, very bad. But nothing bad happened, so we can laugh at it.
Yes. And I thought this was funny from Roger too. It was like, I was pretty, because it's like you're still, even though you knew this was probably going to happen, like you said, everyone goes, the results are going to be inevitable, but it's like you still kind of get your hopes up. Like, Roger's been playing awesome. He beat Stan. It's like maybe he'll have a shot, and then no. And plus, it was like a totally the most worst conditions possible. Which, if the conditions were clear, maybe that just meant Rafa would have made more of his shots too. So it might not have come out any differently, but it was painful to watch Roger not be able to make any of these. He was still throwing down some great rallies and stuff, and then the last shot would just get carried away on a cyclone. So they asked him, they're like, what's worse, the disappointment of a defeat or the frustration at not being able to express yourself under these difficult windy conditions? And Roger goes, no, I accept this because the conditions are the same for both. Unless he had less wind than I had, I don't know. He goes, it was difficult, but I accept that. He played in an incredible way. He has incredible abilities on clay. I knew that ahead of time. I don't look like I fight, but I do. And I tried to believe in it. I tried to turn the match around until the end. But the further along down the match, the better he seemed to feel in the wind. But I had some opportunities. It's a pity I wasn't able to maybe win the first set. With the wind, everything was possible. But once again, it was impressive to see him on clay. Which kind of makes me laugh because I'm like, all of his fans' angst and stuff. And meanwhile, Roger's in the match going, wow, this is fascinating. Just look at how Rafa plays.
like he's riding that wind.
Yeah, right. So then they go, a theoretical question. Next year there will be a roof here? Not exactly sure how that's the question, but Roger goes, and less wind, maybe? He goes, first they put the roof, and then the roof is going to fly away. There was so much wind. It was incredible. I don't know if you understand. It was just crazy. No excuses, but it was crazy.
It's blowing the roof off the place.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's so, because Roger has this kind of like very steady and, intellectual way of, giving these responses. And it's like, they put the roof out and then the roof blows away.
You don't understand, you guys. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It does sound like the wind made him crazy. It does.
Yes, that's always my favorite, when Roger gets a little giddy. You can tell when he's like really put a lot of effort into a match, because he does get like a little lightheaded. And then you get some more of these interesting responses. But it was another one of those things where it's like, even if he had lost, if it had been like an awesome 4 or 5 set match, you still would have been happy about it or excited or whatever. But it's like these conditions were just, it wasn't tennis. It was insane.
Yeah.
So it was like, let's just watch who can get more clay in their eyes.
It was crazy. You don't understand, Valerie.
I don't understand. It was
crazy. It's madness.
and speaking of crazy,
Stan.
Stan has just been hugging the shit out of everyone in this tournament.
He doesn't have Donna anymore, so he has to get his affection elsewhere.
Well, that's what I've been saying. I'm like, I love single Stan because he's like a massive flirt and he's just looking for love in all kinds of places.
And all the weird Twitter places.
And all the weird Twitter places. But
I should try and flirt with him. I never tried before. I should shoot my shot. Why not?
Yes, right. Well, that was when he was first on Twitter. He used to love when people sent him, suggestive things or inappropriate, or he was like the one player that was really up for that. So it was like when he started dating, then suddenly, I don't know if she was a jealous type of person or if he just didn't need that anymore, but he kind of disappeared from social media. And so that was like kind of upsetting. And he's back.
How dare you not let us flirt with you while you have a girlfriend?
That's right. I mean, it's all meaningless anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Kind of like just have some fun.
Yeah.
But this was just so funny because the umpire's just dying. Well, referee, I believe, because it's Wayne. McEwen. I think that's what his name is. But yeah, it was 2 different matches. He had his arm around him, and the guy's just cracking up. And somebody said something really interesting to me that I hadn't actually thought about because I just kept thinking about the thing about him being single and all that kind of stuff. And somebody said they're like, he came back from that severe knee surgery and, didn't know if he was going to be able to play again. And he just seems like euphoric now because he's kind of has a different perspective. Like, this is all awesome. Like, look at here, I'm playing Roger in the French Open in the quarters and I'm playing awesome again. And he really does seem like he's just really happy.
Well, I was going to say him, like, hugging everybody. It's a very Delpo move.
Yeah, exactly.
And Delpo's another one who's gone through a lot of injuries and didn't know if he'd ever play again. And, he hugs everyone in sight.
Yes, exactly. It's just kind of like, I am so happy to be. I love you.
We need to get around him. Just in case he feels like a hug burst coming on.
Yeah, no shit. Just like fling yourself in there.
And like all of a sudden turns into Sascha and just grabs us by the legs.
Grab me, please.
I know, we'll be like, this is the greatest time of our life.
But it's been so much fun to watch because it's like every changeover, it's like Stan's chatting with the umpire. He's bringing the officials over. Everything's like totally fucked. Like he's, playing this really tough match. The weather sucks. And he's just like, hey, come in for a hug.
But that's the thing is, this is exactly how I wish tennis Twitter was. Instead of getting mad and miserable all the time, I wish we all just laughed and made dumb memes and just hugged it out together and just like, this is insane. Let's all just laugh together. Let's Rafa fans, Djokovic fans, Roger fans. Let's all just trade memes and just laugh about everything ridiculous. That's what we need to be more like Stan.
That's right. Be like Stan.
Yeah. Be like Stan.
Oh, and we can end the podcast there. No.
That's our inspirational.
That's
more than Rafa.
Instead of that, focus because you're focused while you're focusing on being focused. And then you'll be focused.
I'm sorry. I still can't believe everybody was like, that's the most inspirational thing in the world. It's like, who are you, Steph?
Speaking of which,
that was great. I didn't plan that, you guys. That was great.
This cracked me up too because this, honestly, to me, I think was the best men's match of the tournament.
And I missed it, and I was so mad I missed it.
Yeah, this was because it was totally high quality from beginning to end, and they were both awesome, and there wasn't like 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts and bullshit, and it was just really, really good stuff. There was some drama, but and that was what we've kind of talked a little bit before about. Steph is kind of a gamesmanshipy kind of guy. And this when Stan went in for this hug, I said it was like the Fredo kiss in Godfather. Because it's like, oh, here's this friendly hug, and then Stan won't let go. And he's
like Steph already let go, and then he had to go back again, and then he let go. He let go like twice, and Stan's still going. Yeah. It reminds me of Belinda Bencic with Federer at Hopman Cup, where she just kept grabbing on him.
Yeah.
And he just went with it. Like, oh, okay, we're going to do this? All right.
Yes. And Steph is, we've called him Mr. Justice before because he's very much in the match about rule following. Like, he hates when people get coached and that, that kind of thing. And so it was like, I know he was annoyed by some of the stuff that Steph was doing. And it was kind of like, you sort of feel like he was going, you played really well in this, but don't fuck around with people, Like, you're going to be sorry.
He was lecturing him. That's probably why Steph looks like he's trying to get away at the end. Like, oh, I'm getting lectured. Okay.
Yeah. Like, you're not my father, dude. Like, okay. I've heard it from him all before.
And I don't listen.
And I don't listen, exactly. So it just cracked me up because it was just like another thing of Stan with these intense hugs, and then it's like, he's not letting go. That's it's a little aggressive. And I like how it's tweeted. Wawrinka clearly had some nice words for Tsitsipas at the net. Did he?
They need to be mic'd.
Yes. Yeah, because I always love it whenever they ask them, like, what did you talk about at the net? And they always, like, deflect. Like,
nothing.
something, or I don't remember.
They do the Rafa. They go, oh, we talked about this.
Yeah.
When we talked about it.
They were talking about Rafa's, advice about focusing. You have to not focus on your negativity. Don't complain about things, like I do. and so this was the thing. Like, Steph had a couple things where he broke a racket and threw a water bottle down, and it was the kind of thing where really he should have had multiple violations and lost a point. But the feeling from the commentators was that the umpire might not have seen Steph when he cracked his racket. Because he didn't do like the major break thing. He just bounced it and it cracked. And then they just thought he was wandering over to change his racket, because he does that all the time too. Like, it's like 30-15. Oh, I think I'll get a new racket. So, but anyway, on top of it, Steph was screaming all kinds of stuff. Like, here, umpire, 4 hours of swearing in Greek. And Stan got an audible obscenity warning. Which I'm not going to say Stan doesn't swear, but there was no comparison.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, Stan really won't. He kind of laments and stuff and groans and whatever. And then you'll get like 2 sets in, you'll get the big fuck. That's usually what Stan does. Steph was just hours of stuff. So the umpiring in this match was crazy.
Yeah, but it's in Greek, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's always our thing about, well, for one thing, like, my husband works with Greek people and he knows all the swear words. So it's kind of like, if you're an umpire, you should be able to know like the main curse words. And if not, I feel like they should have translators. Because it's like, if you're going to have an obscenity rule, why does it only apply to people who speak English? Or
yeah, I feel like,
sure.
Or French. Yeah, it seems like if they do it in English or like in the language of the tournament that they're in,
right,
where people can understand it easier.
Right.
Where if you're speaking a language that not many people would understand, not even just the umpire, but like the audience might not be that familiar with, the umpires tend to let it go.
Right.
Because it's not as pearl clutching.
Yeah. But it's like, but it is always weighted against English speakers, because it's like, even when you're in France or whatever, most of those people speak English too, because they're not like us. They are multilingual. So it's just kind of an irritating thing. And especially too, because it's not like Steph maybe just swore a couple times. This was like, even if you don't speak Greek, you're like, yeah, I can tell he's not saying nice things. So it was, and part of it was too, it was just on top of everything else that he had gotten away with.
Yeah.
And so that, and and Steph has all these, like, he has like stalling tactics and, slow.
Yeah, and like tapping on the court.
Yes, that was another one that people got pissed about.
Yeah, that's not good. He shouldn't do any of those things.
No, because he's, like, in general, very likable. Like, he has a lot of people that want to be his fans because he's an interesting, kind of quirky person and stuff. But then he does these little things where you're like, that's not cool. That's, not.
You would think people would be more outraged by it, to be honest. Because tennis Twitter is outraged about everything. Yeah. And I feel like that, you would think that would be a bigger deal. Well, because he's purposely trying to sabotage his opponent.
Yeah, it depends on where you are, because the Sascha and Steph fandoms already loathe each other. They're like going to be the next Fidal rivalry, apparently. So it's like, if you go on Sascha fans' pages, they have like all kinds of horrendous things to say about Steph. It's like some of the regular folk are like not as wound up about it. Maybe they're too focused on Kyrgios. I don't know. And
yeah, I guess so.
A lot of people too were like very predisposed to Steph. Like, oh, Steph's being bullied, and Steph's a delicate flower, and he's a kind soul.
Yeah.
And then they don't feel like they can backtrack about, so they try to kind of shrug off some of these little things that he does. And it's because it's like, none of it's like really horrendous. Like, he's not being a complete ass, but it's stuff that's obvious, where it's just like, please don't do that. But a lot
Please
of
don't do that.
a lot of other I mean, Rafa's been fucking getting away with it for ages, so I'm sure that's how Steph's looking at it. Like, a lot of these players get to drag their ass and do little gamesmanship things and take long breaks, and so it's like you can't really completely blame him, but it's unfortunate because I said especially maybe when you're starting to get fans, you like don't want to turn people off right away. But this was funny because Stan, a lot of times, if you push him too far, he'll get mad. But a lot of things he just does it right back. And I thought this was funny because I didn't see this until after the match. And it says, amused by the scenes on court 4 as the practice court changed hands from Tsitsipas to Wawrinka. Stefanos hit a couple of extra returns after 11 a.m. So Stan strolled directly onto the court and stood next to Petros. The match has begun.
That is funny. I like that he's just like, hey, I ain't afraid of you here.
Yeah. It's like,
you see me? You see me.
Yeah, and it's so Stan, because Stan does it always in a gregarious way. Like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out here with your bro. I'm not bothered. So I just
that's
thought
great. I like that kind of sassiness.
Yeah.
That's silly, but like sassy of like, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it looks like, just like you were saying about this is a way to have fun with this kind of stuff rather than everyone yelling and throwing stuff at each other. And we've talked about this on the podcast frequently about that. It was news to a lot of people that Stefanos and his quotes and sublime thoughts and stuff were stolen from other people and not given credit to them. And so then it was just dying that after this match where he loses this really tough close, they were a point different. It was like 195 points to 194, and Stan only had one more winner, which is what he won on. So it's like crazy close match. And Stefanos tweets out Stan's tattoo, and it was like, so he's gonna steal Stan's words. And it cracked me up because I went, oh my God, he gave him credit. Which then made me laugh even harder because I'm like, this is the one quote where we would have absolutely known it was Stan.
Yes. Yeah. He couldn't fool us here.
Yeah. Which obviously this isn't Stan's. These aren't Stan's words either.
No, Stan didn't. Stan didn't make that up.
Yeah, but it's got layers, and it's just.
Yeah, Steph's quotes are really funny.
Yeah,
because people just think he's deep. He ain't deep. And I defended him for using quotes because, when I was younger, I always talked in quotes like on social media, and we all had, a messenger away messages. And, our Facebook has a quote section in your About Me, and MySpace, we always had quotes. And I used it for things that meant something to me, that was a way to express myself. They weren't words out of my mouth, but I related to them. So I cracked up at this in the presser where they said, you tweeted out an interesting saying that earth and water have always been as they are. Could you reflect on that? What does that mean to you? And Steph went, I have no clue what that means. And it's just that he saw it. It's an ancient Greek quote. He has no idea what it means, but he said, that sounds good. I'll post it. So everybody acts like he's this deep, sensitive, artistic soul, which I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying that they kind of overshot it just a little bit, because I just love the idea of people thinking that he's just the most sensitive person in the world. And then he's like, those words sound good together. Let's make that a tweet. And then they go, well, what does that mean to you? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know what it means. It doesn't mean anything to me. And he's like, I don't, and he always says he doesn't know why he likes anything. I remember Naomi Osaka asked him what his favorite meal is, and he said lamb. And then he goes, I don't know why. And it's like, well, you're Greek. You eat lamb all the time. That's, you grew up with that. That's probably your comfort food. That's, what you associate with your home. you know, but it's just like they ask him things and he's constantly like, I like this, but I don't know why. So it doesn't seem like he's that layered, or he doesn't like to let the layers show.
Yeah, that could be too. Like,
Um,
it's probably like really much, much weirder than we think, and he doesn't
probably,
want to let
probably.
us know.
Oh my gosh. It that's the thing about Steph is I understand why people don't like him because I think people can't figure out what level he's on
Yes.
and they don't know what to make of him. And I understand why people like him because he is different. He is unique. He has a you know, I'm an artistic person and so I am drawn to artistic people who like film and photography and all of that. So I'm attracted to that aspect of him. But he is just random. I don't know how to say it. I started to say like weirdo, but that seemed mean.
Yeah.
But I don't mean it in a mean way. I just mean it in a he is a mystery wrapped in a Greek body. Like
Oh, that's what he's got going for him.
he is a mystery wrapped in tight underwear that he shows us on a regular basis. So
And that is the thing too about that was another controversy from the French Open is he tweeted something out about not liking bipolar people who basically like start drama and that everybody should be more positive and yada yada.
yeah.
And everyone went berserk because everyone takes everything literally. And I'm not sure which of the two it is. Because one person said they're like, I am absolutely certain that Steph doesn't know what bipolar means.
Yeah, I think if that was an English you know, English isn't his first language, and I don't think he
Right.
really knows what bipolar means and what we use that term to be.
Right.
Um, in English speaking languages, and we refer to it as the mental illness and not just being, you know, polar opposites or, you know, whatever he meant it to be.
Yeah, which that's the thing is like he might have used something that spit that out as a translation or whatever, so he chose the wrong word. But it's also there's something that I noticed that a lot of players have gotten into trouble with, and usually like American, Canadian players, is we tend to be big on exaggeration and we
Mm-hmm.
use very strong words to describe small things. And so, you say that, you got raped on some kind of a, deal or something. And
Yeah.
you say that this person was like, she was so bipolar and she just wouldn't,
Mm.
give me the right answer. And, it's like people don't use the words in their clinical meaning and they're not meaning to be offensive. It's just a way of speaking. It's like colloquialisms. And I mean, people even use it, in sports. You use all kinds of war terms and stuff, and people get offended by that too. Like they're not warriors
Mm-hmm.
and they're not this and that. And it's like, but you have to use these words to, it's language. You make it interesting. So, you use words that's not really what it means, but we're using it for effect.
Yeah, but I've noticed in the last few years we've I guess become more woke, I guess should I say? Like we've become more aware of language and its meanings and you know, I don't hear a lot of people use the word raped anymore like we used to when I was in school.
Right.
In that dramatic sense. I think people are trying to be more aware and use it in its more serious form, I guess to say, and not make jokes about it. And I think so. I don't mind people. I don't think you should attack Steph because I just think he had no idea. I
Yeah.
don't think he meant it in a negative way. And I'm
Yeah.
fine with people going, hey, you know, in English speaking countries like America, you know, we don't want to say that because this is what we refer to as bipolar and how that could be taken as you insulting them. You know, and I don't mind educating people, but I don't think we should just rip them to shreds. And it's all about context.
Right.
And, you know, I think we should, I don't mind us being more compassionate and more sensitive with the language and the words that we use. But I hate when people purposely go after people purposely ignore context.
Right.
And just get mad.
Right. And it's like, I mean, I find it very hard to believe that Stefanos would sit down and go, I think I'm going to write a tweet insulting bipolar people.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just like, you would. My always thing on Twitter is like, you need to find out what the person means before you get angry. And it's like, I've gotten into a lot of discussions with people like that on Twitter where like they'll attack me for something and then I'll be like, did you realize I was saying this? And then they're like, oh, no, I thought you meant this completely opposite thing. Because it's like a lot of times there is a language barrier or they don't get your sarcasm or your reference or whatever. And it's like, the first step should always be like, are you saying this assholey thing I think you are?
But that's the thing, is like, we talked about this before about how, I mean, this is a different situation, but we talked about how one of the Australians responded to a Steph tweet by saying, I'll have what he's having.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got mad and said it was mean and bullying when he was just making a movie reference.
Yeah.
And that's like a very common thing that we all say.
Yes.
It's a very common pop culture references that we make. So I think we do need to take into account language barrier and intent. And I'm fully fine making people aware, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we understand one another.
Right.
But I think there's a difference between education and just trying to make them seem like shit people.
Yes. And I think that's the perfect sum up right there.
I will take a bow that you cannot see.
Bravo. Setting this podcast up was a nightmare because it's so many things were like intertwined that I could not figure out a proper order for this. It's like really maybe like starting with day one and like building from there. Maybe it would have worked, but it's kind of like you always want to start off with the reactions of like, who won? This kind of thing. The women's tournament was, depending upon your point of view, wildly interesting or a total nightmare. A lot of the seeds went out early. Kerber and Wozniacki are both still dealing with injuries. Kvitova, I think, withdrew. She didn't even play at all. And then in the third round, Serena went out to Sonia Kenin, Osaka went out to Siniakova, and Pliskova went out to Martic. So it was kind of like a lot of carnage from people that you sort of expected to win. But it was still a lot of like then really interesting matches and not so many blowouts. And the women had a lot of like longer and more dramatic matches and stuff. And so like there was a lot of them that I enjoyed. And one of the best matches was Vondrousova and Martic. It was like, and it's these things where it's like the average tennis fan like sees these two names and goes, what? And that's the best match of the day. And Vondrousova, who is a teenager, we almost got Anisimova, who is another American, an American teenager.
Yeah,
she came close. She came close too. She played some really good matches, and it was an interesting thing because when I saw Anisimova's semifinal, it was like she kind of lost it a little bit. Like you could tell she's still a kid. She was like got bowled over at the start, then she kind of fought back, then she fell apart again, and it was kind of reminded me of Stefanos from like a year ago. Like they're still kind of wild and don't have complete control of their game, but they're super talented. And I was marveling at how Vondrousova was like so much calmer and seemed like really cool. And then she got to the final, and that's when she kind of, the nerves got to her, and Barty this was like really an easy win for her. And it was it's one of those things that always upsets me because there's always so much talk about, oh, the women's game isn't as good, or they don't have enough superstars, or they don't whatever, and then you're always fighting against these battles, and then the final ends up being like this blowout, and then it proves all of these people right,
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not true. It's like, you have to look at the whole tournament, and the whole tournament was filled with all these interesting, awesome matches. And it's like, and you're seeing these teenagers coming up and refining their game. And Barty's, her win percentage was insane for 2019. So it's like, this isn't out of nowhere.
Definitely.
She's been playing amazing tennis. And someone tweeted and they said, and we haven't even gotten to her favorite surface yet. She loves grass. So, she might have a fantastic grass season too. So the women's side was actually like, once you got over all of your faves being gone, there was a lot of fantastic tennis. And it was nice because we had 3 women from America in the quarterfinals too. We had Sloane, Madison, and Amanda. So there was like a lot of good stuff on the women's side. And Von Trojeva's game is, I love it. She's kind of like crafty with a wicked drop shot and all that kind of stuff. She said, it was one of the quotes from her, something where she said she introduced people, to herself and to her drop shot kind of a thing. It's like, that's how people are going to know her. So it was just a shame because there were a couple points where she almost started to get back into this match in the second set, and then she just couldn't quite get there. And so it would have been nice if it had pushed to 3 sets, but I'm hoping she's not going to disappear because that's what everyone was talking about. That keeps talking about the Ostapenko thing. She kind of won it out of nowhere, and then what's she doing now? But
yeah,
I don't think that's going to be the case for these two, and I'm kind of excited about what's going to happen in the upcoming season. And this was the thing. This was an ongoing issue at the French Open that, honestly, just from the very start, the women all their matches were on either early in the morning or they were the last match. And so it was basically like any normal person, like in the US, who would turn their TV on and maybe catch some tennis, was all men's matches because the women were playing at like 4 a.m. our time. So then you got to where the rain delay caused the women to be playing on basically like outside courts, in comparison to where you usually play your, semifinals. And Martina said this was just awful. No way that should have happened. Relegating women again to second-tier status is not okay. And a big thing that... Are you like drilling for oil or something?
What?
All I'm hearing is like slurping over there.
Oh, maybe it was my fan?
I don't know. It's like this constant like... I'm like talking and all I hear is just like... sounds like a straw noise.
Does it still?
Okay, now I hear it less.
Okay. Maybe because I tilted the laptop towards my fan.
Oh, okay.
So I set up in a different way and put my laptop more towards my fan. So I'm going to assume that's what you heard.
Okay.
Because I was not slurping anything.
I know, because I'm just like talking and all I hear is
Yeah, that has to be my fan. That's funny. That's like, remember, was it Joey who like ate the whole time when we did it?
He ate a whole pizza or something during the fest.
Yeah, I do not have a big gulp in my hand. That's funny. Sorry.
I know, because you weren't saying anything, and then I just hear this noise. I'm like, I'm just flying out here solo.
Sorry. No, continue with the scheduling and how stupid it is, because it is very stupid.
Yeah, it just gets tiresome because it's like any time that they have these discussions, it's like it's the same arguments over and over again, and there's so many men that come on and they're just like, the men are more important and the men have more fame, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, then the women that were playing on Mathieu there was like a small audience there, and they're like, see, that proves it. That's why the women shouldn't be on the main court, because look, nobody showed up. It's like, Well, because they bought tickets for the women's semifinals for Chatrier, and then they got different matches. They're not gonna. It's like, let's put it in a parking lot in the neighboring town during a blizzard, and then go, ugh, no one showed up. See, no one cares about women's tennis. I mean, it's like they don't understand that all these things contribute. It's like Tennis Channel, because the two women's matches were going on at the same time. They just showed Anisimova's match. It was like they never even mentioned the Konta Vondrousova match. So it's like, and then you're like, how come, no one knows these women because they suck? It's like, no, because they don't get any coverage. They're out on outer courts. It's like, it sends a message, because it's like, if, people are looking at the schedule, they're like, oh, these two women I've never heard of are on this outer court, then obviously that's not going to be any good, when it's totally not true. So it's just really frustrating. And the big thing they kept saying about, well, they couldn't split the semifinals tickets because people spent money and expected a men's semifinal match. And it's like, well, what about the people who bought women's semifinal tickets and got screwed? There was like no consideration for that at all. It's like, oh, they won't care. They'll be happy if they get a men's match instead. It's just like,
so many people got screwed with ticketing and scheduling. I mean, the players, the fans. I mean, everybody under the sun got screwed at this tournament.
Yes.
And of course, the women always get more screwed than anybody else. And the men have to tell us why that's not true.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like the gaslighting thing. It's like, no, this isn't happening to you. This is just the marketplace. And this is totally fair. And you're just like, I will kill everyone. Johanna Konta had this great response. They said, one more question on the scheduling. Amelie Mauresmo called it a disgrace. Do you agree? And she says, I mean, I know you guys want headlines on this, and you want me to say something really juicy. I'm not oblivious to that. He goes,
you go, girl.
Exactly.
You don't just be a headline.
That's right. She goes, but I think more than anything, what is tiring and what is really unfortunate in this more than anything is that women have to sit, athletes, female athletes, have to sit in different positions and have to justify their scheduling or their involvement in an event or their salary or their opportunities. And I think to give time to that is even more of a sad situation than what we found ourselves in today in terms of the scheduling. I think I don't want to sit here and justify where I'm scheduled. That's not my job. My job is to come here and entertain people, and I feel I did that. And I feel I gave people who paid tickets every opportunity to enjoy their French Open experience. And if the organizers do not feel that that is something that can be promoted and celebrated, then I think it's the organizers you need to have a conversation with, not me, because I did my job and I did my job well.
You
and
go,
I was
girl.
like, damn.
You just want to like slow clap her, like, yeah.
And I thought it was perfect because it was like not like inflammatory headline kind of stuff, but it was very pointed about, this is not my fault, and why do I have to keep explaining it? Why don't you talk to the people that are fucking it up for us? And it's like, bravo, because it's so true. It's like, why? Why does this keep happening? And why does the WTA not have any clout? Because they said that they lobbied for the semifinals to be paid on the main courts and nothing happened. And it's like, well, maybe you need to work on that. Maybe you need to get a fixer, You got to start working on some bribes and threats and stuff, You
gotta get a fixer. That's funny. I didn't expect us to be like, you gotta get your Michael Cohen. That's funny. That's a good.
But it is. It's funny. Just like how, they said it was like, the WTA statement or something. It was like he sent a strongly worded letter, And the French people went, yeah, whatever,
The French people went, no.
No. It is just the women. No one cares.
No.
So, speaking of drama, I don't even know how to start this. So
now I'm gonna start coughing.
This is the story as I know it.
I'm sorry, it sounds like you were about to start the Fresh Prince rap. This is the story all about how the French Open got twisted upside down. I can keep going and tell the whole story as the French Prince rap.
We should have planned that out. We could do that.
I know. I didn't think about it. Well, I didn't think about it until you said that, but go on.
So Dominic is little innocent Dominic is sitting in his press conference answering questions, and Serena loses to Kenin. She comes to the press area and goes, I want to get out of here. I just lost. Put me in. I want my press conference over with now. And they went, well, Dominic is in the big room. And so stories vary, but their indications seem to be that she said, well, put me in this other interview room. I don't care. Which to me, she probably was hoping they would say yes and that no one would know she was in a press conference and she wouldn't have to answer any questions and she could leave. That was kind of what I'm feeling what her objective was. But in any case, they went, well, you can't because someone's in that room. And so they went into Dominic's press conference and kicked him out. And so Dominic moves into this other room, and I just love that little shoulder turn. He comes in the other room, and they tell him that, oh, by the way, Karen is supposed to be in this room, or Delpo, or I can't remember which order it was, but it was like someone was in the room, and then when he finally got in there, they went, oh no, someone else is coming in this room. So you still have to leave this room as well. And so Dominic was like, okay, then I leave too. And he goes off screen and they say something about, well, you know, there's supposed to be a TV interview and this, and he goes, well, maybe I can do what I want also. And he left. He did not do any further press.
Oh, I didn't know he fully left. I didn't know he didn't go into the little room.
Well, this was the little room, but they kicked him out of the little room too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he didn't do any further press because he was pissed off. And
which is understandable.
Exactly, because that was what happened. Was like, I think he was stunned when they kicked him out of the big room, and then when he got here, he was going, I don't understand this, you know, because, you know, she has to do the press conference, I have to leave, you know, and he was like flummoxed, and it was like, it kind of like it sunk in when he's sitting in this little shitty room going, how did I get here? I'm number 4. Like, I'm not nobody.
And, like, the finalist from last year.
Yeah, the finalist from last year, and he won his match. And he got kicked out for someone who had lost their match. So he starts feeling, you know, really pissed off. And so he did a couple interviews where he was like, you know, I don't think that was very nice of her to, you know, that she's more important than me. I'm not some junior. And then later on, he was going, that wasn't even right. You shouldn't even do it to a junior. Everyone has a right to, you know, their press conference and yada yada. So that was the beginning drama. But I said, I keep dying over this, the way he leaves, where he just is like this little flounce. And when you hear it too with his accent, well, then I'm going to leave too. You know, it's just like
the way his body is. It reminded me of like the kid in class, like the teacher told them to get out. They're like, well, fine.
Yeah, fine. I didn't want to be here anyway.
Yeah, fine, I'll go sit down in the hallway. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what, and this was another journalist here that this was what I was saying about Khachanov was doing a TV interview and then Delpo was coming in. So Dominic went in there and then they were like, oh no, by the way, you have to move again. And then he was like, fucking hell. And
I didn't know about this.
Yeah. And then the other thing that happened was people were saying that, oh, you know, Serena was heard saying that she thought it was rude. And so to blame the tournament because she thought it was rude too. And it wasn't her that kicked him out. And then other journalists that were there said, no, she was telling the official he was rude because he wasn't getting her into an interview room immediately. So that's the two conflicting stories there as well. So then you get to I'm sorry, were you going to say something else before?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say about the whole Serena thing. I don't know what to believe because I totally understand Serena going, hey, can I get an interview room now? I'm here. She just lost. She just wants to get it over with. And here's the thing. We all know the TMZ tennis Twitter. And we all know that there have been multiple press conferences where journalists have said, oh, this player, sniped at a journalist, or they gave attitude and they did this or that, and then you watch the video and you go, what? They said it normally. They smiled. They so for all we know, Serena could have asked to be moved, and then they go, you know what, we need her because maybe more press would be more interested to talk to her, especially after her loss, so let's just bump Dominic.
Right.
We don't know if she really threw a hissy fit like they want her to, or she just asked and they caved because she's Serena.
Right.
We don't really know the pressure that she did, because I don't necessarily believe that, because let's face it, there are a lot of guys in tennis Twitter and journalists who say women are emotional or whatever when they're not.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know what happened, but all I know is Dominic does not deserve what we're about to talk about.
Yes. And you know what, I was going to just say a thing too about being, her saying to the official that he was rude or whatever. And I started thinking about it and I'm going, well, there's also the possibility that the official was rude because they never really said what that person said, or how they said it. There's like the same kind of things, like when you're not there, it's like you have to decide whose point of view to take. And just like from my limited experience being in press conferences, I have seen big players wait for other players. Like I saw Sharapova waiting outside for Rogers, presser to finish. I saw Kyrgios waiting in the doorway for Grigor to finish. I have also seen them tell Federer that after the press conference, he always talks to Swiss press then, and that's usually like maybe 5 or 6 people come up, and that's usually when everyone else leaves. They told him that the Swiss press were going to have to go with Roger into another room because they had someone else coming in. So I have seen Roger get moved, not while he's in the middle of answering a question.
Yeah.
So that was handled better. Like, this makes sense. We need to get this other person in, and this is just a small group of people that they can go with Roger into this other room. And so that was like an example of it being handled better.
Yeah, and also, do we know really how many people in press were there for Dominic?
No.
Because they might have just thought, oh, well, Serena's here. She is more in demand. Let's just move Dominic and then blame Serena so we don't get the heat.
Blame Serena.
You know what I mean? Like, they could go, oh, Serena just has to get in right now. I'm sorry, we have to move you, as an excuse. Yeah. Instead of saying, oh, Serena's here. We really need to, you know what I mean? Instead of owning up to it.
Yeah, but the only thing is it's like, when you've been to press conferences, they're never long. It's like, it's very rare for press conference to be long. And Dominic's was probably going to be over in like 2 more minutes. And so really, like, all of this could have been avoided if they would have just said, he's almost done, and then we'll get you in there. It's like, it was just an example of, it was just really just kind of poorly handled all around. But I said, when I was thinking about the rude people, I know that I've seen one time that was really startled me, because Djokovic was leaving and a journalist kind of approached him and said, could I ask a couple of questions? And Nole was kind of like, oh, sure. And whoever the PR person for the ATP was like, no more questions. He has to go. And Nole was like, but he's Serbian. He came from Serbia. and it was,
oh, you're gonna make me choke now. That was funny. He came from Serbia.
To Mason, Ohio. That was unsaid, and the person was like, fine, one question. And to me, I was totally would have been expecting and been fine with Djokovic going, who the hell are you? I can answer as many questions as I want, kind of a thing. Like, because I was like, why does this guy have the power? But Nole was like, oh, okay. And, he went over and this guy quickly asked him one question and then they like rushed off. And so it's like, so this idea of, sometimes maybe like that these players just breeze in and kick people out and is maybe not entirely accurate. And you'd get mixed stories from even people who were sitting next to each other. It's like a weird thing. It's like people's perception does feed into stuff.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. And people are acting like we do. And we don't.
Yeah. And it's just the only thing that the common denominator is like Dominic didn't do anything wrong.
No, he did not.
And that leads into this, where we should be excited that tennis actually gets on mainstream TV. And they do this segment on The View, which, by the way, I have not watched The View in apparently a very long time, because other than Whoopi Goldberg, I don't know who any of these other people are.
This is not the regular panel.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what's going on here, because this isn't their daily. I don't watch The View either, but this is definitely not their daily panel, because their daily panel has like McCain and Behar and other people. So I don't really know what this segment is, but they went all in on Dominic Thiem. They honed in on Thiem saying that Serena has a bad personality for what happened. He was upset. He was letting off steam.
Yes.
And this whole segment was, we don't know who you are. You're a nobody, Dominic. You're a nobody. Serena's the queen. She can do whatever she wants. We don't know you. We don't know you. Like, that was basically their whole dialogue was, we don't know you. And it's like, okay, just because you don't know who that person is doesn't mean he wasn't valid in his anger, or, he's the number 4 player in the world. He was, the runner-up the year before. He is a name in the tennis world. The top players do get more special treatment, than lower ranked players. But he's not a lower ranked player. And he deserves respect. And there was only one woman who stood up for him.
Yes.
Out of the table. But it was just, it was one of these things of like, regardless of whose side you're on in this situation that we really don't know what happened, this was a bad take and they needed to stay in their lane because they don't know tennis beyond Serena.
Yeah. I really always hate that, where everything is like, you didn't win as many slams as this person, so you're not allowed to have an opinion on anything. This person is a superstar, so they can do whatever they want. They can be nasty, they can be rude, they can murder someone on the court. They're allowed. And it's just like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, if Dominic had told her like how to be a mother or something, you could say, well, what do you know? But it's like, when it's some situation where like you feel like you've been treated badly or whatever, why is he not allowed to talk about that? It's like, oh, you haven't won a slam, so you're not allowed to talk about anything. You just have to take as much shit as there is to be taken. It's like, I hate that mindset that it's like, there's only 3 people in the entire tennis world that are allowed to have an opinion on anything, and the rest of you have to shut up. I find that infuriating. And I don't, this is the kind of thing when I think like the Serena thing makes me crazy, which is like not even her fault. It's how people react to her. Like, she's like the Beyonce of tennis kind of a thing. And they don't care about tennis at all. They don't care about the sport. They don't care about any of the other players. It's just that she's this like pop culture icon kind of a thing. And that's how they approach any of these things, is from that perspective. And it's annoying. It's like, it doesn't do anything good for the sport. It's like, I'd rather they didn't talk about tennis at all then, if like this is going to be the only take that we get.
Yeah, exactly. It was really disappointing. And even people that were diehard Serena fans that were upset with Dominic and what he said, even they admitted this is a horrible take.
Yeah.
That them interjecting on something they don't know. Clearly
Right.
don't know. And it's just like Serena can do what she wants and we don't know you. Like that's not a good take. That's not a
No.
fair take to anybody involved in the story. And but yeah, even diehard Serena fans were like, yeah, this is bullshit.
Yeah. And that was this woman, that Tara, was the only one that came in and actually had some like facts about like, well, the tournament was probably a little bit, could have handled it better and things like that. It wasn't just this like stupid, it's the queen has spoken, I just, that stuff just makes me crazy. And I'm sure Dominic was like, what the hell, like, how did this happen? And that was then this was another press room where, they're like, if you had an apology, and Dominic starts going, well, I don't know whose fault it was. It was just very strange. Nothing's ever happened like this to me before. I'm easygoing. And then he's like, of course it was strange the first few minutes, but I've forgotten it now. That's it. And then they're like, but you were critical of Serena. And he's like, well, I don't know if it was her mistake or the officials. And he goes, I don't know if she saw me or, and that was my thing where people were like, Serena didn't know anything. And it's like, well, she's standing right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, did they bring her in through a secret door and they smuggled Dom out in a different it's kind of like,
well, is there I've never been in the press room for Roland Garros, so I didn't know if there was like a front desk that they check into before going to whatever rooms they set them up in.
I don't know.
Is there like a media like how in Cincy there's like a media desk there?
Yeah, but generally, like when the players come in, they're just all coming in from like that one same hallway, and they usually do run into each other or whatever. So it's like it's kind of, I've very rarely seen it where like they don't see each other or pass each other or whatever. And maybe Roland Garros is different.
Well, the reason I asked is because she spoke to someone saying, I want to get in there early. So I didn't know if maybe she was somewhere else.
Yeah.
And maybe didn't know. So that's the thing is we have no idea. But it just seems hard to believe that she wouldn't know. But it's just a point of we weren't there. We don't know how it's set up. Who the hell knows?
Right.
But what we do know is Dominic was innocent.
Yeah, and so that's what he kind of started to, because I'm sure he didn't think that this was going to be a huge firestorm, and so he kind of was just like, I'm glad he didn't completely back off of what he had said. He was like, well, if she did know and kicked me out, then I still think that's kind of rude, but maybe it was the officials that did it, and then it was rude of them, kind of. Yeah. But then it was like, then this person goes, he says again, like, I don't want to put any attention on it anymore. And they go, so did you get fined? And Dominic goes, I got fined? The question I'm asking. And he goes, I'm the only one who didn't do any mistakes here, so why I should get fined? And it was because you get fined for not doing press.
Yeah, but it just seemed like, I don't know, I feel like whoever asked that maybe wasn't, I'm curious of who asked that question and how familiar they are with tennis. Right. Because a lot of organizations send people that maybe aren't as familiar with tennis, so they might know the rules, but maybe didn't know the circumstances. And because I don't think any one of us, like, I would have thought that in tennis Twitter, that he could be fined. Like, I don't think it would cross our minds.
Oh, not in this situation. No.
No, it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Maybe the general rule is like you have to do press, but because of this situation, I feel like, maybe they weren't as familiar, because I don't think any one of us would have went there in our heads. Like, but it didn't occur to me.
Open, they handled everything poorly the entire
That's
2
true,
weeks.
That's true.
So
that's
I wasn't
true.
Surprised.
That's true. It was bananas. But
how Stan got the obscenity warning.
Yeah. But it is funny, like, did you get fined? I didn't do it. I was the only one that didn't do anything wrong. And that's the thing is, like, I get Serena fans, weren't really happy with him blaming Serena and all this stuff, but I really felt like it should have went away in like a second because
Right.
it's understandable. He got bumped. It was a very unusual circumstance. He's not a young, up and coming player. He's well established on tour. And
Right.
it's understandable that his feelings were hurt. It's understandable that he was frustrated and is like, wait a minute, I worked hard to get where I am and I'm being bumped.
Right.
And although you can understand Serena's power, you understand Serena's status because of course more press is going to want to talk to her than Dominic. That's true because she's a figure that people want to talk to even when they don't follow tennis. You know,
Right.
but it's just a thing of like you should be able to understand why Dominic was frustrated. Let him vent and move on. I
Right.
don't really like when he said Federer and Nadal wouldn't do this. I kind of didn't. I didn't like that
Right.
because I was like, well, they get special treatment all the time, so let's not pull them into it.
Yeah. 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 But I think that's the thing is like people don't ever empathize. They kind of expect everyone to act perfectly all the time. And there was no consideration of like, well, just imagine how that would feel. Like you won your match, you're number 4 in the world, you're like considered one of the favorites for the French Open, and they bump you from your press conference. And what some of the journalists were saying was that other room is really tiny. So then it's not just like you're not in the Suzanne Longland of interview rooms.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, they go, oh, we need to get Delpo in here, so get out. Like, so how like if you're at work or something and you get some kind of slight like that, you want to kill everyone. It doesn't matter if it's rational or if that's the person at fault. Or
like, oh well, fuck me then. What
exactly.
I should just go kill myself. Why am I even here? Like,
Yeah.
you feel that.
And it's like if he went on for 3 days going, Serena's a horrible human being and I hope she dies, it's like then you can be mad at him. But it's like
that's an escalation. That's like, all right, calm down. You just lost your sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can understand him being frustrated because we would all get like that.
Yeah. And that's why I don't understand when people get so upset about the players that break a racket or get upset on court or whatever. It's like, are you kidding? Look at how much pressure is on them. It's like, if it's
the thing is, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it's a lower ranked player, it's like this could be the difference of them being able to pay for their flight home. It's like this is big to them. And then, the higher ranked people there's 50 billion people watching you on TV and your family's there. And, it's like, gee, I wonder why they're tense. It's like,
yeah, and I was gonna say back to your thought about comparing it to working in our jobs. That if it was any one of us and like a coworker like did that to us, we'd be like, "Can you believe that bitch? What? She thinks she could just stroll in here, coming in." We would all rant about that. Dominic was very tame. Like he was frustrated, but he held that in. But if it was any regular person, we would be like, "Can you believe that, Becky?" Like, we would have been like catty as hell.
Yes, exactly. And so
or maybe that's just me because I'm a terribly angry person. I don't know.
The good thing we aren't professional tennis players. We'd be in trouble all the time.
Oh, we'd be just going over and kicking Rafa's water bottle out of frustration.
Absolutely.
Be like, how about that, bitch? Sorry. Poor Rafa. We really went on him this time. Sorry.
And so now everyone got in on this. No, Ruben, how could Thiem be trending in the US when no one knows who he is? Which once again, a fabulous, funny comment related to the view segment. Yes. And then there's comments underneath it from people who think he's being serious and, oh, we know him better than we know you. And
oh my gosh, people are. Ugh.
And it's kind of like, when someone says something like this and I don't get it, like I don't know what they're referencing or whatever. I don't know. I look at the comments and I see what other people are saying. And half the people tagged the view in their responses. So then you go, oh, there must have been something on The View. No one does that.
No, everybody just gets instantly triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get instantly heated. Again, we talk about this all the time. Tennis Twitter just wants, it's just waiting to throw that fireball. They're just like, ooh, test me. Say something. Say something. And then even when they don't say something, oh, they said something. It's like, well,
exactly.
they didn't, but you're pretending that they did. Yeah.
Right. Let's feed the outrage. And so this was a double thing because
this is feeding something.
This is feeding something. This is feeds rumors, and then this was also used as a thing about like, oh, Serena couldn't wait 2 minutes. Here, look at, Delpo and Simona are practically making out because because she waited for the interview room. But then it's also apparently there's a lot of rumors that Simona and Delpo are a thing.
Here's the thing. I don't know how this started. All of a sudden, one day on Twitter, everybody was talking about rumors that they're together. So what did everybody see that I missed?
Yeah.
And like, aside from this, but I mean, they've known each other for a long time. They've both been on the tour. They've probably done promotional events and things like that. Are they both sponsored by Nike?
Yes.
So they've probably done a lot of promotional stuff together. They knew each other. But I want to know where this rumor mill started and like why. Like, what are the receipts? Show me.
Yeah.
Show me why you think they're coupling up. God, it really is. I've never seen Love Island, but it really does feel like Love Island these last few weeks. We've had breakups, everything. Yes. We've had everything.
Yes, but this was like so good, and I love this. Is it's like he can barely hug her because the height difference is so.
And she's like buried into his armpit there.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I can't breathe.
I hope that's not right after his match.
Oh God. Oh, did you shower? Please, Ron, I hope you showered.
I'm just like smothering her, like. God, poor Simona. She's okay. She's still alive. No, I'm sure he smells fine. Sorry, Juan.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so continuing saga for women. Just, some of these questions, and it's like you say, there are a lot of times, especially these bigger tournaments, you've got people that don't, they cover basketball or something, and then they're told they have to go cover this tennis tournament. They're like, oh, whatever. And then it's also people from like Vogue magazine or something that are showing up to these, and so then you get these weird questions. This person was like, is there a sense in this tournament that it was so open? I mean, you are such a world-class player. Is it harder in a way when you look at the 8 that were there this morning? Does it make it harder or a bit more cross to be going home?
What?
And yeah, and she goes, oh, when you look at the draw, the 8 people that are still in the tournament, there's a reason why they're still in the tournament. There's always opportunities in every single tournament to go further. Am I upset that I wasn't able to do that? Of course, but I wouldn't downplay any of the other 8 people because they're all great players. That question, I think, is not great because that kind of puts the other players down, which is in this situation, in the last 8 of a Grand Slam, is nowhere where they should be put.
That's a great response.
It is.
That's a beautiful, like, chef kiss response.
Yeah, it was just like... It's like, so you're saying, do you feel bad because all these people suck? And it is. It's another thing where it's like, do you follow women's tennis? Probably not. And then
I would hope not.
Yeah, right. If that's still your opinion after you follow tennis, then that really sucks. And then Gabriella Santini got asked all these questions, and it was the same thing. Like, do you think women's tennis sucks now? I mean, that was essentially the tenor of these questions. There's no consistency. There's nothing. And she's going, well, that could be positive. You don't have the same players winning all the time. I see a lot of new players that I don't know and that I haven't seen before, but I think that's good to have more competition. And they just keep asking it.
Yeah, because we say that all the time, that we like to see the competition. We like to see the underdogs. and these really great matchups that you didn't expect.
Right. Yeah, because it's not the same freaking matches over and over again. It's like, Rafa Nole playing each other for the 1000th time. It's like, after a while, how different is it really going to be,
Yeah.
And then this really took the cake. This guy should have just been escorted right off the premises. Like, talking about this, which relationship do you have with your body? Because I remember when you played, you put, maybe to me, too many muscles on you, and now you look perfect.
Oh my God. Can I just say, I really hope that was at least a woman who said that.
I doubt it.
Like, I don't want it to be anybody who says that. But I'm just like, please, like, you read certain things and you're like, my God, please tell me that was a woman who said that.
Yeah.
And just like a shitty woman and not a gross dude asking a woman about her relationship with her body.
Yeah, which is like, what does that even mean? Like,
and saying you look better now without all the muscle. Like, that, no one asked you.
yeah.
You're supposed to be asking them questions, not inserting your opinion of how they look onto them.
Yeah.
And then asking for them to respond to your opinion of how they look. Like,
Yes.
that's awful. Why would you? Oh, God.
Yeah. And I said the fact that it's like, I wish you would have said thank you, and then in parentheses, she raises her middle finger. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. We wish she had a more, appropriate response to that bullshit. And I do agree with people when they said that they wish the person who asked the questions is revealed on each question.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because
I think there should be more transparency in who's asking these questions.
Yeah, they do it in other sports. Like, I've seen it occasionally in tennis, but they do it more in other sports where the person announces who they are. They have to say, like,
Yeah,
I'm so-and-so from this outlet.
yeah.
And it's like, and I know there was a WTA event, because I know Courtney Nguyen did that, and it's in the transcript, and the player goes, "I know who you are, Courtney."
Oh,
so
funny.
It's like, sometimes it's probably a little awkward when the players do know who they all are.
That's true, because she works for the WTA and she's been doing this for so long, and she interviews all of them. And then she's introducing herself and they're like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, like,
that's
duh.
funny. That leads to a cute moment. But well, I feel like if they all did it and it was a regular thing, maybe the players would kind of maybe joke around with that, but kind of understand what they're doing. But I do think there should be more transparency. I agree with, how they were putting the camera on journalists. I don't agree with that.
No, that
I
was
don't
awful.
agree with that at all. That was terrible. I don't put the cameras on them, but you can say who asked the question. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because there are some questions that you just think, how are they getting away with this?
Right. And it's like, sometimes you hope that maybe something's done afterwards where they don't have credentials anymore.
Yeah.
But since we bitched about everything that the French Open was doing, this is just like another thing that kind of sums up how the tournament went. They have this very detailed chalkboard type of thing with the draw on the grounds, and they've got flowers covering the whole bottom of the draw. It's like, what the hell?
How can you even read the first round?
I know. It's like
first of all, who had to write that? That sounds like, how like in school where you had to like maybe fill out like, I will not talk in class. Like, that looks like The Simpsons, but like ridiculous. Like, this looks who had to stand there and write it, and also right behind the flowers?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they had to move the flowers and right behind it. Yes. And like, it's so damn small, you need a magnifying glass. Like, can you imagine the old lady with their bifocals? Like, how can you even read it? And weren't they also adding who won before they won?
Yeah, they had some, they put the wrong people in. And then they had the whole draw full with like the finalists in there, and the Pookie Klizan match they had never put in who won it. And And so somebody made a joke about, we have no idea when Nole Dominic, is going to finish, but I'm still wondering about Hui Klizan. From 2 weeks ago. So it's just like summed it. I mean, and it's these things where it's kind of like, if you're running a tournament, you don't walk down there and go, well, this ain't right.
Also, is it really done with chalk? Or like
it can't be, because I was thinking that I went and get rained off.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, can I just go in there and fix it? Like, and just like, can you imagine? Just hold on, I gotta wipe this off. But no, it can't. It has to be permanent because of the rain. But
yeah.
I answered my own question, but because it does look like chalk.
Yes.
But I was like, my gosh! And don't most tournaments have like boards, like little name slips that you put in little slots?
Yes.
Not handwritten shit. Like, my hand hurts just looking at that.
I know. Yeah, and I honestly don't know how, like what kind of a paint it would be or some, and then do they just paint over it at the end? I have no idea. Because it just looks like a chalkboard, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought, and then I'm thinking, I'm like, that would really sum it up if it rained and then just washed off into the flowers.
That was my first thought, was how amazing that would be. Like, how fucking funny if I wrote all that. Like, can you imagine writing all that and then it rains and it all washes away and some guy with a bunch of chalk just went, son of a bitch!
It's like the opposite of Horrible Bosses when he was writing on the whiteboard in permanent marker. They couldn't erase it. It's like the opposite. Like, we're writing this permanent thing and then it just all washed away.
Oh my gosh, that would have been comedy gold. I'm sorry to whoever works that, because I'm wishing hell on them. But it would have been funny for us, and it would have just summed up the entire 2 weeks of madness.
Here's the draw, just all washed
Gosh,
away.
I really wish that happened now. I feel bad, but
we missed a golden opportunity. So this was yet another cock up in the hole. The French Open was, ESPN has coverage for the other slams, and 2 years ago, I think, they dumped coverage of the French Open because they didn't feel they had enough people watching it. And so Tennis Channel was like, yay, we can get coverage of the slam instead of showing replays of old matches when the French Open's going on, which is kind of embarrassing. So they've been touting, buy our streaming service during the French Open so that you can get all the courts and all the action and blah, blah, blah. And from the very beginning of the tournament, the streaming was broken, not working for certain people. It was like one time it was down the entire day. They didn't show any of the matches. And basically it was like, sorry, oh well.
And then they kept promoting it, like, hey, sign up. Not working, but sign up for it.
Yeah, they're showing this. Yeah, they're showing, how they do the split screen, and they're like, you can watch this on TC Plus, and it's like, no, you fucking can't. The whole thing's down. Like, why are you? And somebody had said that they turned off the monthly, the way you could pay for monthly during the French Open, so that everybody had to fork over the full $100-some to buy a year's worth.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow, that's bullshit. So I refuse to buy Tennis Channel Plus because I already pay for a Tennis Channel. And there are channels like HBO and the movie channels that have on-demand apps where you can watch their content on demand. But it's free because you have a subscription. You don't have to pay for it twice. So the fact that Tennis Channel, I have to pay for the TV channel and then I have to turn around and pay for the streaming app is bullshit, and I'm not going to do it.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, ESPN is in most people's basic cable. Yeah. And if you go up a tier or whatever, then you get 2 and ESPN News or whatever. And then they've always had streaming backup. And so then the slams are, you get all the other courts. Last year, they introduced ESPN Plus, which pissed a lot of people off. because they started putting a lot of the outer courts on that. But it's like, it's $4.99 a month, and you only have to buy it for that month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and what they seem to do was, I think because some people got so angry, it seems like then what they started doing was most of the stuff was still on the streaming. And if you wanted to watch Court 12 or something, that was on ESPN Plus, which I thought was fair. Everybody's trying to figure out ways to make money. Whatever, I get it. But it's like ESPN, you already get it in your cable. So then you pay $5 and then you get even more coverage. And so it's like, if Tennis Channel had kind of been like, oh, you have to pay $3 and you can cancel it after this month or whatever, I think people would have been like, I don't like it, but whatever. But on top of it, not only did they have all these glitches and problems, they didn't have coverage on the weekends, which is the thing that always really makes me crazy, because ESPN does some of this too. If NBC or CBS or somebody has the weekend coverage,
Yeah.
even though they only show like 2.5 hours of coverage and it's time delayed and stupid, then the like Tennis Channel or ESPN or whatever can't show any streaming. So you don't get any of the outer courts, or you can't watch any of the rest of the French Open because NBC is showing this one stupid match. It's infuriating.
It's ridiculous because the matches start at 5 a.m. Eastern for me.
Yes.
And usually NBC will put on a match at 9 or 10 a.m.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not live. It's not, or it could be live, but later on, and they'll show like an adult match, or, they show somebody that people would recognize.
Right.
And yeah, it's just bullshit. And it's just, we're paying so much and having to go so many different places.
Yes.
Just wanting to watch tennis, and it's just ridiculous. And I don't understand the tennis world. I really don't. They're making fans pay so much money in multiple streaming services just to see what they want to see. And then they go after fans and media sites who post GIFs or, I mean, even just player content that's not even theirs.
Yeah.
And it's just like, do you want us to enjoy tennis at all, or do you want us to just stop watching? Because they're screwing us in tickets. They're making the tickets more expensive, and then we have to buy more tickets because they're separating everything.
Yes.
And it's just, who are they? Who is this for?
Right. Yeah, they're just gouging all the all of the fans, and it's like it's getting to where like people can't go to tournaments. Now you can't watch it on TV. Women's tennis is really like, like read the tea leaves to figure out where the hell you're supposed to be watching a women's match this week. It's like infuriating. And everyone is like really mad about Tennis Channel's tactics on this stuff too, because what they started doing is putting the least desirable match on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that everything that like most people want to watch is then on Tennis Channel Plus, and so then you have to sign up for it. It's like they're trying to force you by doing that, instead of having a ton of awesome additional content and stuff on Tennis Channel Plus that might make people go, ooh, I can see those interviews or those behind the scenes things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll sign up for that. It's like, that's how other streaming services work. It's like, you get what's on the main channel, but then, ooh, look at all this other extra shit you can get if you sign up for streaming. They're just trying to like screw everybody, which is making everyone angry. And I don't know, maybe it works for the like average non-Twitter tennis fans or something. Maybe that is working. Because a lot of times we think this little microcosm of tennis Twitter is the world.
Yeah, and it's not. It's very small. But
it's not.
But also, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of young fans on Twitter. And it seemed like Tennis Channel Plus was marketed for a younger audience, because it seemed like the younger audience were doing the streaming and not the older people that were watching Tennis Channel on television.
Right.
But I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know who any of this is for.
Yeah.
I don't know what they want, because they just want all this power and control. But at the end of the day, who's going to be left in that case?
Yeah, and it's funny because I was just talking to somebody else about that too, about some of these decisions where it's like you're wondering what their point is, and it's like maybe that they don't have one, like that they actually just don't get it. because one of the things about that people were, they're angry about that we can't make GIFs, that people's Twitter accounts are getting shut down and all this stuff for these stupid little 4-second GIFs and blah, blah, blah. So what's the ATP particularly has been doing for a long time is that whenever, bloggers or, social media people come up with, they try to appropriate it with and get that attention or money or clicks or whatever for themselves. They try to, now we have a blog, now we have an app, or, we have a Twitter account that's more interesting. So this time they went and they actually filmed the players and made GIFs of the players so that people could use them like we do. Like everyone loves having reaction shots from players and all kinds of stuff that we use in funny tweets. And so they're like, well, we're going to make our own GIFs, and they're going to be like professional, high quality film and stuff. So they made all these beautiful GIFs with all the top players. And they made all the GIFs exactly the same. They had every player do the same things. Like they wanted them to fix their hair, and then they sit and look up at the camera, and then there's just one with them like standing there. And they're like filmed really beautifully, but it's not how we use GIFs. Like, I keep trying to use them because they're so pretty, but they don't do anything. Like, because you always want one where they're like laughing or hitting themselves in the head or making a scrunched up face or something. Like that's what people use GIFs for, as a reaction shot. And so it's like, so they went through all this time and expense to we're going to make our own GIFs, and then you don't have to steal footage or whatever. And it's like, these things are useless. You just wasted all that time for nothing. So it's like, they don't seem to get it. It's like whoever's in charge is, and I think that's going to hurt the sport ultimately, which it has. Tennis, look at that View segment. People in America just don't get tennis. Like they don't understand anything about it.
I know. I had I would talk to a guy about my career, and most people, if you say, oh, I've written television, I have a TV writer's credit, I work with professional athletes and we interview them and we're a television show, you would think most people go, wow, that's really cool. But because it's professional tennis, guys go, well, nobody cares about tennis.
Ugh.
That's not impressive.
Right.
That's not a real job.
Right.
And it's infuriating because it's like they just don't have the same respect for it. And tennis is doing nothing to change that. And we just, and we've talked about this before, like there's so many creative people in media, but they're not allowed to do anything. Right. I'm not even allowed to post that video that Andy Murray and Nick Kyrgios took at Kings Island on a roller coaster. Tennis TV claimed that as their own and blocked me from using it when it's not even their content. So it's getting to the point where they're claiming stuff that's not even theirs, and it's all about control, and it's like you're killing everything.
Yes. Yeah, because so that's it's hurting all these other properties from like doing their job and promoting tennis, and from fans from getting involved and having fun with the sport. It's like, just squelch everything, just shut it down. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand what their point is.
I don't either. It's just strange. It's just strange that money has taken over so much that they have to, you can't even take footage at practice courts anymore.
Yeah, which is absurd. I find that absurd, because my whole thing is always like, I get when you're selling something, you're selling this live match, maybe you're gonna sell packages of recordings of these famous matches and stuff. I get that you don't want people to put that online then and give it away for free. I totally, as a creator, I get that.
Yeah, I was totally fine with that.
Yeah, but it's like, if someone is taking a 4-second GIF of someone tossing their hair on TV, or someone films someone hitting a forehand on the practice court, what is that taking? It's promotion. It gets people to go, ooh, I want to see that. I'm interested in that. I'm going to go to that tournament because look at how close you can get on the practice courts. They're not going, oh, I've seen that practice on video. I saw 14 seconds of it. I don't need to go to the tournament now. I mean, it's like, it makes no sense.
It doesn't. And I think that's our biggest pet peeve in media because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel so frustrated with all that stuff about, you can't record, you can't tweet, you can't take pictures, you can't use your phone, you can't, and it's like, do you want us to fucking come in here with stone tablets? And
it's the thing is, like, as media, what do you expect media to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the word.
You're giving us media credentials to sit there and do nothing. Yeah, because we're not allowed to post anything because you want to post it all. Yeah. And it's selfish and ridiculous. And it's something that we could probably talk about for 4 hours because we're so angry. And it's ridiculous. And tennis fans, like, I know they blame journalists a lot and they hate journalists. And some of it's valid. But you guys don't know what we go through and how many hoops we have to jump through to get anything, and then we get mad when you take a picture and don't credit us. But it's like, do you know what we had to go through just to get that photo? Like,
yes,
it's a big deal, and people don't really understand it. So
no. But that's kind of an ongoing theme about people don't understand anything, and we hate them, which is why we're doing a podcast for them, so we can piss them all off.
It's like, we want you to listen to this and realize you're stupid and we hate you. That's the message. And it's more inspirational than Rafa.
And speaking of hating fans,
oh my gosh,
I was honestly stunned when I saw this. And I mean, my first thought was, oh my God, they like Nole so much, they don't want to let him go. That was kind of what I was thinking. And I'm like, I don't, that's not good, but I understand they're excited to see him. But no, the guy is trying to rip his wristband off. So he hung onto his arm so that he could get this memorabilia.
Yeah, and he's trying to pull it off. Like,
yeah. And I mean, honestly, I said again, like, Nole gets so much crap for some things that he does or says. It's like, if he had punched this guy, I would have been okay with it.
Oh, I would have too. Like, there's definitely a line, and you don't grab onto someone and hold on to them.
No.
And you don't do that.
Yeah.
And they don't know you, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and I can't get over the security guy that just stands there and goes, oh no, I guess that's okay. He still has his arm.
But that's the thing, like, first of all, security should have been much closer to him.
Yes.
And, I've had security push me out of the way.
Yes.
When I wasn't even doing anything. I was just, it was just the mob, kind of, when you're around a lot of fans, and that's when security gets a little sensitive because there's a lot of you and you can grab and push and shove, and they're supposed to not let that happen. And this guy is just like, he's fine.
Yeah.
He can handle it.
Well, yeah, I got pushed out of the way as press because I was trying to walk out of a doorway that Nole was going to be walking into, and so they just knocked me out of the way so that I wouldn't dare come anywhere near Novak. But this guy, just take his arm as a souvenir. That's okay.
Gosh.
It's just like, it's just crazy.
And that's the thing, like, recently in politics, like, that guy came on stage where Kamala Harris was. Security took like 5 minutes. Like, it was forever, it felt like, and everyone's like, oh, well, he wasn't violent, he didn't do anything. But the point is, he could have.
Yeah, it's like,
and
the point you don't know that.
Nothing, and the guy apparently told her, I'm sorry, while he ripped the mic out of her hand and kind of tried to make it plain, I'm not here to hurt you, I just need the mic. But the point is, you don't know what they could do, and you don't want to give them an opportunity. Right. That's what security is. Like, you just want to minimize any situation that could go wrong.
Yes.
And so, yeah, they should definitely be closer to Novak and prevent grabbing and things like that.
Yes. And it's like, I don't know why there's no happy medium. It's like you've either got security that are just like knocking
That'll
people
knock you
down
out.
and
Yeah.
elbowing you in the face when you haven't even done anything. And
Get away
then
from him. Yeah.
and then other
then-
times, they jump out onto the court and run around and security's like, it's okay. What?
Yeah, and you're just like, you want to do something about this?
Yeah. I mean, that happened to Federer. That was like a couple years ago. Some kid just ran out and ran right up to him and asked him for an autograph. And Roger turned and looked at the security like, excuse me? Like,
and then remember that guy that put his arm around Rafa?
Yes.
That jumped on the court and just had his arm. Like, you don't want them touching them.
No.
Gosh.
It's like,
I love how this whole episode is just, what is wrong with people? It's not that hard. Do your job.
That's right. So we're getting into the fun stuff now, we promise.
Yeah.
This is the cuter
We
stuff.
are. We're getting into the butt stuff, we promise.
Yeah, and this is I wanted this because not only is it adorable, because Benoit congratulates Stan on his win, and it's this big smushy hug, but I also find it hilarious that Benoit has no problem with this big smushy hug, but then when Stan goes for the high five, he's like, oh, okay.
What is this? Oh, okay. We don't kiss now. Okay.
Petty cake. Oh, okay.
Patty cake.
I said it's just like, this is very American of you. Okay. I thought we'd do double cheek kiss, but okay.
It is funny the more you watch it with our commentary. Like, we could just do this all day. Like,
Yeah,
oh.
right.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing how we do get a lot of amusement from both of them.
Yes. They're so cute.
They're so adorable. And I love this photo shoot, which I didn't see. So I don't know where that came from. Who also tweet me if you know what Roland magazine is.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that didn't know that was a thing?
Yeah, I had no idea. And I said, I don't even remember. I was looking for team something else, and then this popped up in the search results, and I was like, why did I not see this before? It's Dominic in a scarf. He looks gorgeous. And it's like, what magazine? What? Where?
Yeah, I know. You didn't even know that was a thing until I said it. And
No,
you were like,
I was
what?
like, I didn't look at it. I'm like, what? It's an article? I'm just looking at Dominic. It's a man in a scarf. I just love that. I love Europeans. Look at that.
Who does it?
Hello.
That's great.
I feel like Dominic he's really like grown up in like the last year, where it's just like, woo.
He has. He's grown up a lot.
And even like to his interviews and stuff too, like he's like more comfortable and he says funnier things, and it's just like I'm enjoying Dominic a lot. and speaking of enjoying people,
Liam, I've definitely fallen in love with Liam because he's like, he has that really like sexual, dirty mind.
yes,
But in a silly way, not in a gross way.
yes,
And I appreciate that in a man.
yes, and he's also very attractive.
Well, yeah, that too.
And this cracked me up because this is one of those things where people take pictures without any mindfulness about the background. Like, where the fuck is this? Like, it's like a disaster. Like, he's standing next to a steamer and there's like a bunch of stuff piled up behind him, and it's just like, what am I even looking at?
I mean, at least it's not a toilet.
Yeah. We've seen some of those too, the famous bathroom shot. But it's like, I like the little angled window, and I'm like, is he in a bedroom, a closet? I'm confused. Courtney's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I sorry, I got distracted. But I was trying to figure it out because I never looked at the background before. And it looks like he's standing next to a wardrobe.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know. I've never been to London, so maybe there's shops that are like little rooms. I don't know.
I don't know, because it's like it could be a bed behind him with a whole bunch of stuff. So it's like it could be a bedroom, but it's.
It doesn't. Does he have a steamer in his bedroom?
I don't know. That's what I mean.
Do
It's
people
odd.
have steamers? Like, is that like things people buy casually?
Yes. Honestly, if I could afford one, I'd have one.
But like, he's a tennis player. How much? When does he wear clothes that he needs to steam?
Well, he's wearing them right now.
Okay, but he just bought that suit.
Maybe
So he just went
his
out and bought a
parents'
steamer?
house. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess we could have asked him. Like, where are you? That looks weird.
That's always a good way to start a conversation. That looks weird.
You look good. That looks weird. Where are you, babe?
Oh, so
Looking steamy.
steamy. This is a gorgeous suit, by the way.
No, you look good. I like how now I'm just staring at the background. I never once looked at that background until Valerie brought that up.
I must be like taken after my husband, because he's always the person that does that. I'm always focused at whatever the focal point is in a photo or a movie or whatever. And he's in the background going like, do you see that guy with the hot dog? And I'm like, what?
The only time I looked at the background was that one guy in Jurassic World with his like martini alcohol glass running away from the dinosaurs, and he kept the glass in his hands. And that was the only time where that really made me laugh, and I noticed like the background.
Oh my god. We were watching like a horrible B movie one time. This is what we do on New Year's Eve. We go to a friend's house and we watch really, really bad movies. Everybody brings one to see like who has the worst movie. And there was one of those like bad 70s movies or something, and they had where, you know, people were running because there was a lion in the bar or something attacking people, and you know, everybody's rushing out in all of their nightclub clothes, and this one woman is just randomly topless. Like just in the flurry of activity, her blouse just flew off.
I feel like a lot of those movies, especially like horror movies, there's just randomly shirtless women. I don't know, for no reason, no plot point. Just out of nowhere, boobs, and that's it. And then you're like, why was there boobs? Where did the boobs come from? Not that you're complaining, but you're just like, that seemed unnecessary, but you do you.
It seemed unnecessary. Oh my god. So, speaking of
unnecessary.
Speaking of unnecessary but sexy, I love Grigor, and Grigor's been like upping his game on Instagram and Twitter, and I have a thing about. I was talking to Courtney about this earlier, about I have that hospital bed fetish with the players.
Here's the thing. I did not know she had this. Apparently, you people who follow her know this and send her content. I missed this, so I don't know about the hospital fetish, and I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Is it like the nurse, like doctor, like?
Well, that's what people
you're
were thinking. You know, honestly, I didn't know, because it was like a lot of times it was players that I don't normally find attractive, and then they would post a hospital bed picture, and I'm like, oh, that's hot. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like
you just had surgery. And you look like you're doped up. That's hot.
I know.
Like Andy Murray's laying in the hospital bed with his panda pajamas and like
just
driving you crazy.
Part of what it is that vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it.
And then when I saw this picture of Grigor, I'm like, oh, and they're also lying down.
Yeah.
Like they just seem accessible.
Yes. No.
Really
yeah.
Seems awful, but
Gulbis has a picture where he's in an airplane and he's like in first class and he's kind of leaning backwards. And I would always say his lap looks very inviting.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I'm with you there.
Yeah, and so that's what it is, but it's kind of a funny thing, because I said it's like people like I don't find them attractive before or after those pictures, but in those pictures, like, ooh, I could see
just
and I
lay down and look injured.
just look injured. But I said I think it's a vulnerability, and then a lot of times too they have kind of like, tousled hair, and their shirt's open or their gown is is open, whatever.
Oh my gosh, were you ever a candy striper?
No, but maybe I should have been.
You should have.
Let me give you a sponge bath. But I don't have like a doctor nurse fetish. I don't have that. So I said it must have something to do with.
But just you going around like secretly untying people's hospital gowns in the back. I'm like, oh no, it came undone. Let me help you, sir.
Let me help you. Let me retie that. Oh, that tie's a little low.
We're the worst. I feel like that's worse than some of the things I've said that you've said were bad.
About wanting to be a child so that you could sit in the players' laps.
You always bring that up with me, but I feel like that was up there. I feel like we're equally terrible.
Oh yes, absolutely. I never said I wasn't terrible. I did not claim innocence on any front. But yes, I want to take advantage of you while you're in the hospital. That's not creepy at all.
Yeah, no.
Let's lie back and think of Bulgaria, Grigor.
It's fine. Everything's fine. You're in safe hands.
But, sometimes.
So, seriously, I have a question for tennis Twitter. Who's a bigger thirst trap, Gregor or Borna?
This is a good question. It's where it stops. It's just like, oh my god.
But here's the thing, like, Gregor used to do the whole, like, boyfriend material thing. Like, he used to do the whole, oh, we could sit by the fire, and I could play guitar and ask you how your day is while you drink wine.
Yes.
And then, now it's just, look at my ass. Just deep in my ass.
Yeah, because I said I would say Borna was to start with, because Borna did more of that, like, here's me jumping into the pool in my underpants, and here's me
like he really
eagled on the lawn. Yeah, it's like
he leaned into his sexuality.
Yes, and yeah, like you said, Grigor was more the romantic, and I don't, maybe he got pissed off about that. Like, wait, why is Borna getting all this play?
Yeah, like I used to say Gregor was the hey girl meme. Like, hey girl, look at me standing next to this Christmas tree. Like, he would do the whole like sensitive romantic type. Like, I like lavender candles. And
I forgot about the candles.
I will never forget about them damn candles.
Oh my god. So yeah,
I don't know what episode that was, but that was a good episode that we did.
Was a good episode.
Where Gregor was talking about how he needed those lavender candles in his hotel room.
Yes. You were like, candles?
Yeah. Real. The fact that he makes the hotel go get them is the thing that killed me. Yes. Not that he likes scented candles in his room. That's fine. It's the fact that he goes to the front desk and goes like, I need these candles.
Yes.
For my comfort.
To be a fly on the wall to see their faces when he asks for that.
I mean, but that's the thing, is I assume they stay at swanky hotels that are used to those bullshit asks. But I go to cheap hotels that would look at me like, what the fuck you talking about? There's some potpourri in the bathroom, which there isn't. But no, there is never potpourri in the bathroom. No. That's the thing. I stay at hotels that don't even have potpourri. Like,
you're lucky if you get toilet paper. I mean, let's be real.
You're lucky if you get more than one towel. And like
oh my god. Oh, so
speaking of luxurious
and thirst traps.
And thirst traps. Literal thirst traps.
And Stanley, we know Stanley knows what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely.
He he knows what he's doing. And there were, of course, people superimposing things over the bottle.
He understands the internet. I swear he does things on purpose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He loves it. And like we said earlier, he's gotten way more flirty lately because we did not get a shirtless picture, honestly, for like a couple of years. It was very devastating. And so
really? I thought we did.
It was like a lot of times he was only shooting it like above the nipple, like you were only getting a hint of like, I'm shirtless, but I'm not going to show you anything. He was doing ice bath pictures where you just saw his feet. It's just kind of like,
dude. Boo. Boo.
Exactly. So it's like,
imagine the disappointment, like an ice bath picture of their feet. And I'm not a feet person. I hate feet.
Yeah, I don't mind feet, but tennis player feet are generally not that good to look at for various reasons. And it's certainly not what my focal point would be.
Yeah, what the hell?
But Stanley has been super, super flirty. We've been getting a lot of... He's been doing a lot of those cryo chamber things, too, where they basically are in their underpants and then earmuffs and stuff. It's just, I find those weird. Like, everybody always sends those to me and I'm like, his abs look great, but it still is a weird photo.
Well, it's like, I don't know, like, just pretend you're getting it on in Alaska or like the North Pole or some cold place.
It's the Stanimal in my igloo.
Yes invite him in your igloo. He can melt my igloo. Anyway, what was I gonna say? I've never flirted with Stan on Twitter. I should try it. See what happens.
Yeah, that was the early
I don't know
days.
how to flirt, so if someone can give me a pickup line or something. I don't know how to flirt. I'm so bad at that.
You know what? We used to have like four of us that used to just talk to each other stuff about Stan, and then he would pop in occasionally because he likes reading. He likes reading about people saying stuff about him.
That's terrifying.
I know.
Like, that's so terrifying. I'm always afraid of that. I remember Casper Rudd, I think it was. I said something like, I saw him. I was watching a match and they showed him in the crowd, and I tweeted, "Ooh, Casper Rudd, you be cute," like in internet speak.
Yeah.
And he found it and retweeted it. And I'm like, first of all, I know how to speak English better than that. Second of all, I didn't tag you. You weren't supposed to see that. And he fully called me out.
Well, yeah, Stan just did it to somebody too, because it was one of his fans was tweeting about, I'm not going to bother participating in this Q&A because Stan never answers me anyway. So what's the point? And Stan popped up and answered her, like, oh, I'm sorry, or, like whatever. He gave some little response with a smiley face or something. And she hadn't tagged him in it. It was like, he's lurking.
That's
so be careful what you say about the Stanimal.
I don't know. I don't want to be careful. I'm kind of curious of what would pull him out. I'd be like, bam.
Oh, speaking of bam.
Oh, Borna. I forgot we had Borna in here. I don't know why I forgot that, but
Borna. That this is, if some of you may remember who've been following our podcast for a while, we did Borna.
We did Borna. Wow, that was a great episode, wasn't it? That was a hell of an episode.
Listen to that.
You all missed a hell of an episode.
Honestly, it was one of our first ones, I think, actually. And that
it was in a car and everything.
He was in a car, and that was where I was like just grunting for like 5 minutes. Just like,
and then I had nothing to say. Like, I was just sitting here and she just grunting, and I'm like, should I leave?
So when this turned up on my timeline, I'm like,
I don't know. Like, I have no idea what slurpy whistling sound you heard earlier in the podcast, but like, if any of you didn't listen to the Borna podcast, trust me, it's worse. Whatever sound that was, it was worse. Valerie's grunting was way worse.
Yeah, and so and I was like just loving this just in general because my God, he's like got oiled up thighs and everything. I love the angle of it. I love the outfit. I love everything.
Well, again, it's like the sitting position that's like the inviting.
Yes. Yes. But I was like, they finally figured it out. Like, they finally understood. I was like, if you put this on a fucking 2-story billboard in a mall in America, we will be into tennis. I mean, this is what you do. This is how you sell it. Because I just boggles my mind how many people in America still think of tennis as McEnroe in the 70s with the elastic
Yeah,
headband.
and then they go on and put like Sam Querrey on a
Yeah.
poster with like K-Swiss or some shit
Yeah.
that
Yes.
no one wears.
Yes. For a reason.
Yeah, and instead of this stuff, and also people hated this line. I loved it.
Me
And they said
too.
it was too goth, but like I am goth, so like woohoo! I loved it. I love the skeletons, I love the flowers, I love the bees, and I'm allergic. But I loved the patterns. I think they all looked really cool and different and magical. And
Yes.
I just loved everything about it.
Yes. And I'm actually really sad that Borna didn't wear this outfit on court.
He
'Cause
did. Which one did he wear?
he wore the shorts, but he wore just a regular black polo, which I
Oh,
found very
boo.
disappointing.
Boo.
The only thing that I liked about it was that Nike did a ton of separates this time, especially for the men. So that you had a lot less of the guys showing up in the exact same outfit.
Oh, I hate that.
It
I
makes me
hate
crazy.
that. I love that they switched it up. And you know what? I'm not a fan of Nike. I was always a fan of Adidas.
Right.
That Adidas seemed to be more my style and things that I would buy for myself.
Yes.
And I never really was attracted to Nike because I always thought it was very plain. Like, you know how Rafa is just in plain yellow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not interesting to me. And when I saw this line, I was like, this is what I would buy for myself. And I actually almost did. I almost bought the skeleton one. I wanted everything, but it's all like $80 a piece.
Yes.
So I might buy the skeleton one, but I haven't yet because I'm poor. But
Yeah.
I want it all. And I don't even play tennis. I just want to wear it to like tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too about that thing about marketing is that I guess I was thinking about it, I'm going, I think that they had everybody in the same outfits before because they figured no one watches as much tennis as we do. And so they just figured odds would be good if someone randomly turned on TV, they would have that Nike outfit on and they'd go out and buy it. But for people who are watching 30 matches and everyone has the same fucking outfit on, it's like really bad marketing because you're like sick of it. And
Yeah.
and they have it on people who doesn't look good on and that kind of stuff. And so this time when they had all the separates, you saw all different kinds of things and things that suited different body types better and different personalities. And Tommy Paul, of course, had the skeletons on. I loved that.
Of course.
And the print shorts. And so you could kind of look at it like, holy shit, I could buy like 6 different pieces and they all match each other and I can do different things. And so it was like they finally got it. And I don't know if this is just going to be a one-shot deal and they're going to be back to crappy stuff in the next season. I don't know. Because and Adidas went completely plain and
yes,
blah.
It was weird. It was really weird.
Yeah.
They switched.
But I said I'm always shocked by the tennis Twitter reaction to a lot of things, but I'm really surprised how they react to fashion because everyone seems to be super, super conservative, which is weird to me. Like they only want people to just be wearing plain black. Like that's the only thing they're ever compliment. They don't like flowers, they don't like stripes, they don't like polka dots, they don't like bees, they don't like whatever. It's like everything is always, oh, that's the most hideous thing I've ever seen. It's like it makes me crazy. But then it's like you go and look at any fashion magazine or go to the stores or whatever, and everything is print right now. Everybody's wearing multiple kinds of prints and full print bodysuits for women and stuff. And then everybody
love it.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And so then when Nike came out with this, it's like it's very on trend. And then you've got everybody on Twitter going, "Oh, this is so gross." And it's like, no, it isn't.
And I don't know if you saw Bethany Maddox Sands has her line, and she has a really cute like Supergirl line right now.
Oh,
where it's like it's so cute. It's like the Supergirl stuff, and it's like cartoon kind of superhero-y.
Yeah.
And it's bold print because she's Bethany Maddox, but
Yes.
it's colorful. There's bold print and it's just cute. And
Yeah.
I really, really like her Supergirl line, and I would buy everything in that line too.
Yeah. I feel terrible. I don't know what the brand is because I do like that who she's hooked up with now because I've liked all their stuff because it's like it's her style, but they took it to like another level.
Yeah, it's something Love. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like I'd like to give them the promotion because I think they've made some really cool stuff for her.
Yeah, it's really, really cute. I'll find it in a second. Shop Lucky in Love. It's called
That's what it
Lucky in
is.
Love.
That's what it is.
Um, and it's really cute. There's and check out the there. She has a couple different collections, but the Supergirl collection is really just bold and colorful and cute and stands out, and I love it. So I'm really into the goth and superhero, and it's really cute.
So it's a good season for
It
tennis
is.
stuff.
I was really excited.
And I'm very excited by this. Oh, and this is funny. Ooh, because someone just told me that they're very into the tan lines. This is primo.
Well, yeah, because it's very it really highlights the thigh meat
Yeah,
that's happening with
yeah,
the
and
tan line because you really see the shorts hiked up.
yes,
And so I think it's more erotic because it just you're seeing an area you don't normally see.
yes, yes, exactly. You're getting to look at something you don't normally get to peek at. And his thighs are amazing. Ugh, I've been like obsessed with his thighs for a long time.
I think you've been obsessed with everything for a long time, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, but I've
I
always been
know.
a
I'm starting to kind of like Borna a little bit more, which is funny because you got me into Stan.
yes,
And I was not into Borna. Like, I mean, I always thought, like, I understood, he's attractive, but he just wasn't really my type.
yeah,
But I think also the addition of his dog and all the photos of him hugging his dog, and I don't know, he's looking cute.
yeah. I eventually turn everyone.
You do. Eventually, I'll just get there.
Resistance is futile.
It's like, I don't know how long it took you to get me into Stan. I can't remember when I finally was like, I give in.
I've succumbed. Yeah, and that was funny because I did a post on that a while ago. I mean, on a tweet about there's people like that. I understand like people have different tastes in who's attractive and who isn't, but there's certain people that I always feel are kind of like aesthetically perfect, like that you would do a painting of or a sculpture of, and I don't understand how people don't think they're attractive. And for me, that's Borna. Like I'm like super attracted to other players, but I can kind of understand like that might not be everybody's type. But to me, Borna is like perfect.
I
And
think,
so
see, with Borna, I think he has more of like when you're in school, I feel like Borna's more like the handsome jock. Like you
yeah,
see him, he's handsome. But for me, he was never. I'd go for like the goofier guys that are more silly and dweeby. And to me, he was always like the pretty boy that was obviously attractive, but he was not in my wheelhouse, so to speak. So that's kind of
right,
my thing with Borna. But I'm starting to get a little more into him. He's grown on me.
right. But yeah, and then like and I understand that, but it's like there's people that think he's ugly.
I
And
don't think he's
that's the thing that I don't get. Like I can understand like some people who have more unusual features or not the typical that like oh maybe you don't find them don't think they're attractive, but Borna to me is like I don't see how you could say he's ugly. Like he might not be your thing or whatever. Just like previously I thought it was Verdasco. To me Verdasco was like perfect when he
See,
was
I wasn't into Vergasco either.
yeah, but I still
I
it's
was
like not into like he wasn't my favorite player or the guy that I got the most excited about. But to me, it was just like the hair, the skin, the eyes, like he's attractive.
he wasn't my type. I would see now if I had to choose, I would pick Belly over Verdasco
Yeah, and see for me
as
that's
more
like
attractive
totally not.
because I like the longer hair and yeah, and then also Belly posts pictures of him in bed naked, so that is nice.
But it was just an interesting thing because like a lot of people then they posted who there were like, no one can argue with me about their attractiveness. But it's like a lot of people seem to pick odd people. And I was kind of like, no, I'm not saying like the person that only you think is attractive. That wasn't my point. Mine was like, I think these people are objectively beautiful. Like someone who would be a model,
But my mom thinks that Sasha Zverev is the best looking guy on tour. Hands down. No one touches him other than Ernest. Like, she says he's the next Gulbis.
Right.
And she liked Steph as well because she likes Greeks.
Yes.
But after she saw Sasha, she was like, he wins. And my grandmother, it was Marat Safin.
Speaking of Sasha.
Speaking of Sasha, I just like the dead silence of like, yeah, sure, no, that's a choice.
You know what? I'm not. A lot of people say that, but I was like not familiar enough with him to like really have an opinion. Like, I don't know. He's one of those people. See, it's the same. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's so funny how it's like even if you think it's objective, it's still subjective. It's like you still are like, nope, not for me.
Everything's subjective.
Because a lot of people thought Safin and Ernie are similar, and I'm like, but I really like Ernie, and I don't see it with Safin. But I also like totally didn't understand what anybody saw in Tommy Haas for about 2 years. It's like women were like,
but I thought you were like really into Tommy Haas.
I am now, but
wow.
But in the beginning, everybody was, oh, Tommy's so hot. And I'm like, whatever, okay. Like I didn't think he was ugly, but I was like, I don't really get the appeal exactly. And then, a couple of years in, I'm like, oh my God, Tommy.
So I think Sasha's gonna be like that for you.
Oh yeah, I think he'll get there.
Yeah, I think he's already starting to kind of grow on you a little bit more.
Yeah,
I mean, this moments.
This is kind of a joke, that one time Sasha was totally hot. It's just because that's my thing. It's just like I get to that point where it's like, there's certain things that you're like, oh, okay, I see what everybody else sees now, and then he does something bratty or whatever and annoying, and then I don't like him again. So I think that's the one difference. I talked with one of the guys on Twitter one time about this a few years ago about women tend to be more like it's like a whole package thing for them. Like they'll find somebody more attractive just because they like their personality or their belief system or whatever. They liked one interview they did and they start to look at them in a different way and that kind of stuff. And men are very much like, she's just hot, and they don't care if she plays shitty tennis or is a shitty human being or whatever. It's just, I like her boobs. They're like very much, because I have a lot of players like that I think are attractive, but I'm not that into them because their tennis doesn't do anything for me. So I don't get as excited. It's like, for me, it's like I get excited by their tennis as well as how they look. It's kind of a combo.
I'm very personality based, where like if I like their personality and their sense of humor and stuff, I will find them deeply attractive.
Right.
And then I'll just want to watch them more and more and be around them. And so, yeah, I'm very personality based.
Yeah, which is why I love Stan, because he has that wicked sense of humor and found my tweets funny. So then
that always helps. Well, you know what? I like Sasha. I wrote the memes for that interview that we did with him where we showed him a bunch of memes of himself.
Yes.
And I made all those memes and he laughed at all of them, and that made me feel good, and he said that they were good.
It is. It's awesome.
And I'm just like, oh shucks. Like, and Kyrgios is really good too, because he's like, oh, that was good too. That's good too. And Lopez was really good about it too. He laughed. Petra did not like them at all. Petra didn't laugh and she was not amused. But the guys seem to have a lot of fun with it. So then I liked them more because I'm like, oh, they find me funny. They don't know it's me, but they found me funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's very appealing. We have the same sense of humor, that's why Borna has really been coming out more with that lately, that he makes more funny tweets and all that kind of stuff that just crack me up. So, that's another reason to like him. And that was, Sasha had that, he went through that whole thing where he's been talking about what a tough year he's had, and he's got some kind of legal thing going on with his manager. And so then the latest thing he said was that he doesn't have a phone. Like, his phone broke, and so he hasn't replaced it. And I was laughing about that's such a millennial way to deal with a problem. Like, I have to talk to all these people and do all this stuff that I don't want to do, so I'm just not going to replace my phone so then I don't have to deal with it. And then he was saying, "Oh, I could focus more on my tennis now."
But it's funny because I'm a millennial and I kind of agree with him, because there are times before I started working with Outside the Ball, there are times where I would unplug for a week or two and not be online and not really talk to a lot of people, and I would kind of it was when I started to get depressed, like with the news and everything, and I would kind of unplug and I would read books or watch movies and do things that kind of settled me a little bit. And then I kind of went back to it. So I kind of get that, but I'm a millennial.
Yes, exactly. Which it's like everybody needs to sometimes, like, this is, I can't do all of this at once, so I have to say no to something. So that was just the way he handled it. But what was funny was he was doing an interview with Boris Becker, and Boris was like interested in this, like, how can you not have a phone? Like, how do you get by? And especially, a kid at his age, like, how do you not have a phone? And Sasha's like, well, I can use my mom's phone or my dad's phone or my brother's. It's like not a problem. And Boris goes, well, here, I guess you can use my phone too. And Sasha goes, yeah, but I don't think you have Lendel's number.
Oh! That crackle pump, that is good.
I was like, damn, that was on the fly too. I'm like, that's good.
This bench got game. What did Boris do?
You know what? That was the segment I saw. I saw a transcript of it. So
I wondered like how his like reaction was.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I would say Boris probably thought it was funny too.
But yeah, he seems like a easygoing person, but like he seems like he could take a joke. But
yeah,
that's funny. That's good.
Might have been surprised though. But
yeah, like, but that's what I mean. Like his reaction of ouch, okay. Like he was just interested in his life and like, here, you can use my phone, and then all of a sudden he insults him. He's just like, ouch, dude. But it's funny. I think Zverev really likes insulting people and like getting at people, because like, you know how his relationship with Marcelo, where he like destroyed Marcelo in press and said how he's can't do anything for himself and can't talk to women and he can't function. And everyone's like, dude, you're his friend. Why are you just putting him on blast like that?
But
he's pretty. I do like him.
Yeah,
I like him without facial hair.
Yes. Well, I'm pretty much like that with everybody. There's only a few select people that get away with facial hair with me. But I like this because for a while I couldn't deal with his haircut. He kind of sort of had a bowl haircut thing going for a while. When he got it a little shorter like this, I like the look of it. But someone posted this and I was like, I think I messaged this to you and said this might be that one time.
Yeah, yeah, you messaged it to me like, this is it, this is it, this is it.
And then I looked and someone in the comments linked to the full video.
See this.
And so here's the full video. That's,
damn.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I don't know what that shot is.
Yeah, it's like odd avant-garde stuff, but this like
I was with everything except for like the water fountain shot. That was a weird shot, but
this was that was because
like
I have we found out in the last podcast I have a mouth thing with Sasha, and so that dripping wet.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's very like 50 Shades of Grey. Like, I'm into it.
I mean, that right there, that.
Yeah. No, that's good. His mouth, the way his hair is, everything. Yeah, that's good. That'll do. That'll do.
So, It's going to be interesting to follow this because, like, there's going to be like 3 podcasts down the road where I'm going to be like, so yeah, Sascha. He's my guy.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I already see it coming. Like, if we're still doing this webcast like years later, I'm going to be like, called it.
It all depends on the attitude. That's another thing too, where I said that I find Sascha more attractive when he's sad and vulnerable.
Okay, you have a vulnerable thing. We discovered this.
I do, because I kind of don't have like a cocky asshole thing, which is sort of what he's like the rest of the time. So
no, you like the sweet, like, vulnerable part.
Yeah, and
but yeah, in a few years' time, you're gonna be into Sascha, and I'm gonna be dating Borna. That's what the future has for us. And see, I don't like Borna with his hair buzzed and short.
No.
So now that it's starting to grow out a little bit, I think that's why I'm more attracted to him, because he had it short for a while, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he shaves it all off, and it's like,
yeah, I don't like that.
No, it's like, and I think he can get away with it more than other people can, but I really don't like it. And it's like,
I don't like it.
He has beautiful hair, so then that really kills me, because it's just like, why are you doing this? And I think he does it because, I mean, as we know, he sweats buckets in matches, and so I think he probably does it to try to stay cool and not have all that extra hair on his head. But it's just like, you don't look as good.
I mean, you know more about his sweating than I do.
He's kind of known for it. He leaves a puddle around him on the courts.
Well, the last person I know that was known for sweating was Andy Roddick. So I'm a little dated.
Oh, you're behind on your sweat news. Well, I will tell you behind. The big ones are Rafa, Borna, and Dominic. Those are the huge.
Oh yeah, Dominic does. And then like his ass, like he has such a huge ass, and then when his clothes cling, it's like crazy.
Yes.
Like he can knock things off shelves.
His ass leaves the room 5 minutes after he does,
Exactly.
So I used this picture in our end title because I just thought it was so cute. They all look so happy. It's like a lot of times these group pictures are like someone's looking the wrong way or whatever. But I love the way Simona was leaning in on Borna, because I would just totally like that. Like, he's so cute. And I also love that it's Borna and 3 women.
Yeah.
So I just thought this was cute. So that was our podcast, which once again, as much as I didn't think it was going to be, I think it was like 3 hours.
Probably. I think most of it was us ranting about the ATP. It's like, you suck, ATP. What are you doing? Yeah. It's funny because it's normally about dick and ass, and here it was about ATP being a dick.
Yeah.
And screwing everybody else.
See? So it's all connected.
Yeah,
it's what we said in the beginning.
It's all connected. All the conspiracy theories, all the craziness. This was a crazy 2 weeks. So I imagine this was kind of a weird podcast because it's just been absolutely insane at Roland Garros. And I wonder what Wimbledon will have in store.
Oh my God. I'm hoping it'll end better.
Oh, and we didn't even talk about like Kyrgios hating Roland Garros and saying it was the worst, and everybody getting mad at him, and then by the end of it, we're all like, "This is the worst." Like, he was right. Like, we all.
Kyrgios was right.
But that's the thing. Like, everybody criticized Kyrgios for not wanting to play Roland Garros and saying it was shit, and they're like, "Well, you're shit. You shouldn't be playing tennis." And then by the end of it, every single person said it was shit. So Kyrgios, everybody who criticized Kyrgios owes him an apology right now.
That's right.
He was right.
I think we should end on that note. That's perfect.
Kyrgios was right. That should be the title. Kyrgios was right. People might listen then.
Ooh, that's true. And then they'll be listening to 3 hours of this going, they haven't even mentioned Kyrgios.
was he right about? Just wait. And at the end, you just hear me go, Kyrgios is right, end. Boom.
Oh, that's awesome. So thank you everybody for listening. Follow us on social media. Listen to us, retweet us, follow us, do everything. We love you. This has been the night session.